right. Okay, thanks, sir. Welcome to the podcast for Deepaesh.
Yeah.
Cheers.
It's good to meet you. Good to meet you.
So, what did you do today?
Yeah, today I was kind of I wasn't doing too much today. I was just kind of chilling out,
Yeah.
doing some work, just some reading and studying and stuff, and I was checking some NHL highlights. Normally, like in the morning, I go on NHL.
Like the hockey league?
Hockey, highlights.
Oh. So you follow that?
Yeah, I mean, I follow MMA and UFC and hockey. And then normally in the morning, because I don't have time to watch full games, so just normally in the morning, I'll just check highlights and stuff. I'm a fan of the Edmonton Oilers. They're like my hometown team.
Sounds like a nice start of the day.
Yeah, it's kind of nice.
De-stressing a little bit.
Yeah, just kind of nice. It's kind of like, I like watching sports and stuff. It's kind of like relaxes your mind and stuff.
Yeah.
And it kind of, So.
It's something about like the beginning of the day and the end of the day. Like I don't want to be like confronted with school or university or like things I have to do like first moment that I wake up, just go to instant stress mode. So that does sound nice. Yeah,
it is kind of nice just to like relax and stuff. And it's one of those things where when I watch sports, I know it's like silly. It's like people just like throwing balls and hoops and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like meaningless and silly. And there is an element of sports fandom which is so stupid. Like whenever I see people super emotional, and I'm like, it's kind of silly.
I think it's a tribal thing.
Yeah, it is very tribal.
Yeah.
A lot of sports is tribal. I remember like I think like Noam Chomsky, even though he's like a lefty, like he talks about like sports as like tribalism, as like modern day tribalism. Whenever you watch like the like NFL or like even football in Europe, it's very tribal, like hooliganism and stuff.
Right.
And there's a silliness of sports, but there's also like a positive sports. Which I think Jordan Peterson talks about how, or like Adam Carolla, like it's like a meritocracy. It's like one of the few things where it doesn't matter who like your parents are. It's like, are you good at this? It's like a pure meritocracy.
Oh yeah, you mean for the players?
Yeah, for the players. For the players. So that's like the positive thing about sports, which is kind of nice to watch it, because I'm like, okay, these people are actually like good at what they do.
Yeah.
And I can't do what they're doing, type of thing. So,
unless it's the like women's league, because
it's true.
Then they get more. I'm probably gonna get killed for saying that, but then they're
gonna get canceled. Woo! No,
they're gonna get paid more by artificial means than pure advertisements, because they get like, if you look on the percentage of all the revenue that they make, apparently the women get a way higher fraction of that than the men, even though the men by amount of dollars get more. But the women get a higher fraction. Yeah,
I've seen that before. It's almost like a fake elevated demand, and like almost like a cultural thing, but it's not like hard economics, which would show that they do get overpaid based on like the actual demand of who watches it, because people don't really watch women's sports. It has to be artificially like exaggerated, like inflated.
But what do we mean by like overpaid? Like, do we mean that because they're not losing money, right? They're just getting a higher cut.
They're not necessarily. I don't know if they're necessarily losing money, but it is an artificial elevation of their like demand based like for cultural reasons. Like we need to give more. So a lot of institutions will say, you have to watch like women's sports, or you have to pay attention to it, or a lot of athletes will show up to women's games, which happens in the WNBA. Where you'll have like male and NBA athletes showing up just to like increase like how many people will show up to the games. They'll say, "Oh, Shaquille O'Neal is in this game, so you should show up."
Like tickets. In the audience?
Yeah, in the audience.
Oh.
Yeah. They try to get people to buy tickets and stuff. And,
I mean, I would hope he's not on court,
No.
Posing as a woman.
That would be interesting if he did that.
Dunking on people.
Yeah, that would be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So they yeah, but I think the argument that they're trying to make is that, like, they should get paid the same as men, That's the argument that you will commonly hear. Like, well, we're both athletes and this is both our professions, but like the sad reality is that like the market doesn't really work like that.
Yeah.
Whoever's interested is interested, and it's like
I think like market forces is based on pretty much like demand and interest, and it's not really based on any social justice requirement. It's mostly based on like how much interest does this garner for like the viewers. And the reality is that people just aren't interested in women's sports, even though you want them to be. Like if you look at the viewership, I mean the only sports that have good viewership is I think women's tennis has pretty good viewership, and I think women's MMA. It depends, but they have pretty decent viewership. Like I know like Ronda Rousey she got paid pretty well because she actually got a lot of viewership, and she was actually against like a lot of the feminist stuff about stuff. She just said if you want to be a female athlete, just like be good, be interesting. That's the most important thing about doing good in the market. Be an interesting person that people want to see.
Yeah.
Regardless if you're a man or a woman, because even men won't get viewership if they're just boring, especially in the context of like boxing or MMA,
right?
Where a lot of it is like promotional, you know. And sports that are promotional, women can do really well on it.
What do you mean by promotional?
Promotional just means that like your persona is a big part of the market interest in you. So, for example, if you play for like the NFL or the NBA or the NHL, it's like a team sport, and you have like a union and you have like an organization. It works like a corporation almost. But if you're like a fighter, like a prize fighter, you're almost like an individual contractor where your
like
job.
Conor McGregor.
Like Conor McGregor, where your money that you're going to make is based on how much interest you can individually garner. So for example,
that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, so for someone like Conor McGregor understood that, where he kind of promoted himself. He didn't promote his fight skills. He's like, you should watch not the UFC, you should watch me. Like,
I mean, he didn't say that explicitly, but that's implicitly.
Yeah,
right?
Implicitly, pretty much like I'm interesting, and he also played like the Irish angle. Like, a lot of people from Ireland were really interested in him, and that's kind of like one of those important things. So, for example, like for women, like Ronda Rousey, she gets pretty well paid.
That's a tennis player?
No, she's an MMA fighter.
Oh, okay.
She's actually in the UFC for a couple of years. And and then even like, so in tennis, they do actually have equal pay for prize for their tournaments, like in Wimbledon and stuff. But that's more of like, they've just decided that they're going to pay women and men equally, regardless of how much they get, how much they viewership they get. But that's more of like an ideological reason. Tennis tends to be more progressive than other sports, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
But that makes me think of the swimmer, like Riley, whatever.
Oh yeah, Riley Gaines.
Yeah, like talking about the trans issue with like how women, like how trans men are out competing women in swimming, which is kind of an interesting problem. But yeah, we don't have to get into that.
Yeah.
But do you know, like if Conor McGregor is like running for office or something in Ireland? Because I just heard something small on Twitter, but I'm not sure.
The last time I saw McGregor he's doing a movie called Roadhouse, which is a remake of the Patrick Swayze movie from 1989. So I'm kind of a nerd on movies, as you can tell. But
is that the Family Guy reference? Like Roadhouse?
Yeah, Roadhouse. Yeah. It was actually like a 1989 movie. It was like a fighting movie. And they're remaking it now. It's coming out like in a couple months or something. And I saw him doing like an interview for that. I'm not sure about like politics per se, but I just saw
him, like he was commenting stuff on Twitter about free speech in Ireland and that the government there were kind of, you weren't allowed to say certain things, and I don't know, someone got in prison just for posting a meme or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I did read about that. I sometimes go on X, and I went on his X like a while ago.
Yeah.
And he's getting more political and stuff, and talking about, there was a story about some Irish kid that was killed by like some refugee or something, and then a lot of people in Ireland were getting angry, and then people were getting angry at the anger, and it was like this whole like circular thing. Then he was getting like talking about it and stuff like that. And
what they're saying is that the Irish government aren't representing the people, like the will of the people. That's what I've heard, like from people that I trust, but I can't personally like verify the truth of that. But
there is an element of like a disconnect between the people and the governments, and like who's like electing these politicians. They don't really speak for us, and they have like dual loyalty, dual interests. They're not like, don't care about the people and stuff. I'm sure it's the same in your country.
I mean, dual loyalty in the best case, right? Sometimes they're just loyal to their own interests and to the monetary gain. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, most of the time it's mostly like self-serving. A lot of, like in America, they did this like, I saw this graph about like the net worth of politicians. Like Obama, for example, didn't have a whole lot of money. He goes into office and he makes like hundreds of millions of dollars and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, how do these politicians get so rich from politics? Like, it doesn't make any sense, because politicians should be a civic duty. Like, It should be like I'm kind of sacrificing. There should be an element of sacrifice for politics.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like I want to get rich through politics.
Right. That shouldn't be the incentive. Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. But like a lot of politicians, it's a pretty bipartisan issue. Like on both sides, they all get like rich from politics. Their networks like exponentially increase.
And it doesn't even have to be like the president. Like even like senators like Nancy Pelosi, and her husband have some stock deals, or they get some insider information and all of that. So
they get some like preferential treatment, insider
and do some speaking gig at some place and get like $100,000 for one evening. What's that all about?
Yeah, I've heard about that. I've seen like some of like the fees they charge for speaking is insane.
Isn't it that just money laundering?
Yeah, it's money laundering mostly. It's just like providing favors, like lobby groups, corruption with lobby groups and things like that, being paid off. It happens everywhere, in every country. It's not even like a one country thing. I'm sure it happens in your country. It happens in Canada like crazy, where politicians like they get money from these lobby groups in order, and they get like cashbacks and tax incentives to lobby groups. And a lot of them are being funded through lobby groups and also like activist groups and union groups. Things like that. So it is kind of weird.
Speaking about like governments, why don't you like tell a little bit about your backstory? Like, because I know you're grown up in Canada mostly, but I also know that you have like family and ancestors in Sri Lanka, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Is that the whole story? Did I get that right?
Yeah, pretty much. It's just like my family's from Sri Lanka and they pretty much moved to Canada, and then I was like born and raised there, and.
So you were born in Canada?
No, I was born in the UK, but I was in the UK for just like 1 year of my life, and then went to Canada. So
UK is irrelevant.
It's kind of irrelevant. Although I do have family that lives there, and I do go there.
Did you get citizenship by being born there?
Yeah, I do get. I'm dual citizen. Yeah.
So Canada and UK.
And yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So and I do go to the UK quite a bit because I do actually have like friends and stuff there, and I do have associates, but my family, they're from Sri Lanka. Like Colombo is the capital city, and Colombo, yeah. It's
in Sri Lanka.
In Sri Lanka, it's in the west coast of Sri Lanka. It's like by the ocean.
And Sri Lanka is the island outside of India, right?
Yeah, it's like a small island in like the southern part of India. And, there's I've been there a couple of times. It's quite a nice. I mean, it's very tropical, and it's very like a lot of beaches and.
Is it at the equator more or less? Yeah,
it's pretty much at the equator, and
it's great.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice place. Actually, I think there was some students in here that actually went to Sri Lanka, like European students that went to Sri Lanka just for holiday and stuff. It is kind of relatively.
Is it safe?
Popular. I mean, it is safer now. I would say there was a dangerous time before, but I would say now it's probably safer. I know that there's like issues with economic issues with inflation and running out of money and stuff. I know COVID kind of hurt their economy quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah, but I think they're rebounding now. But I don't pay too much close attention to it.
So you have somewhat of a connection, not a very strong one.
Yeah, it's not. It's actually like very weak connection, just because I grew up in the West and I'm more concerned about, I guess, Canada, like where I'm from. And maybe the UK or the West and stuff. When it comes to like there, my parents are more concerned. I mean, they're from there.
They're grown up there?
Yeah, grown up there.
Yeah.
But for me, I kind of grew up in kind of Canada, and it's kind of more like what I relate to, and that's like my primary like priority.
Yeah.
But
is it fair to say that Canada is where your heart is?
Yeah, I would say so. Say so. Just because growing up there, it's kind of all my friends and stuff, and the culture and stuff I grew up in is there. So,
yeah. But like, do you know how many citizens does Sri Lanka have? Like, it's a sovereign nation, right?
Yeah, it's sovereign, and I don't know what the population is. It's probably like, I think it's like 15 to 20 million. I think.
I can look it up.
Yeah, it's much less populated. I know India is like the super populated place, but I think Sri Lanka is probably 20 million.
Yeah, it actually is. It's like 22.16. That's a lot.
Okay, yeah, it is a lot. Yeah.
That's pretty
for a small place.
Yeah.
Especially the cities, like Colombo is pretty populated.
Yeah.
But by the standards of that part of the world, I would say, as a country, it's like very low population, just because India is like billions of people. Bangladesh is like,
sure.
I think Bangladesh is like 400. I don't know. I think Pakistan is like 200 or 400 million or something. I can't remember.
Are they religious in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, like in Sri Lanka, it's pretty much Buddhism is like the main religion. So it's Buddhism is number one, and then there's Hinduism, and then there's Christianity, and Islam is probably the least popular one. And then there's also agnostics and atheists in Sri Lanka as well. But the main religion is pretty much Buddhism, and that's like what the Sinhalese, which is like the majority demographic, believes in. So yeah.
Do you mind if I ask more about Sri Lanka? Because I think there was one thing you told me some time ago, like at the American Association event, how there was like we often portray multiculturalism in a very positive light, but over there, like there was some issues with that, like the between, I don't know if it was the Muslims and the Hindus or.
Yeah, it was mainly between like the Sinhalese and the Tamils, which there was like a civil war, and they differed in terms of their ethnic identity and their religious identity. So they were kind of fighting for, you know, sovereignty essentially. It was like a disputed land. And
what was the people? Did you say the group?
It's Sinhalese and Tamils. And
what does that mean?
It's pretty much they have like a different ethnic sort of like heritage, and they come from different parts of the world. And I think Tamils are more from the southern part of India.
Okay.
Maybe Sinhalese are more northern, I think.
And they're both living in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, they're both living in Sri Lanka, but Sinhalese are the majority of the population. They're about 70%.
So it's based on ethnicity?
Yeah, it's a combination of ethnicity and religion.
Culture
and religion, yeah.
So those three kind of makes the difference between the two groups?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And they were kind of vying for... And the Tamils wanted to like separate. They wanted to divide Sri Lanka into like two halves. Yeah. And the Sinhalese didn't want to do that. So there was pretty much like a civil war, and I think it ended in like the 90s. I don't want to like, I don't want people to like quote me on these exact years or exact numbers.
But we get the idea.
But yeah, you get the idea. Yeah. I'm speaking more generally. It's like, you know, like the Civil War essentially ended, and then Sri Lanka's now just like, you know, peaceful now, I guess. So
okay.
It's a lot better now. So yeah.
And then, so where in Canada are you growing up again? So you were in Alberta, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Edmonton, Alberta. So.
How do you spell Edmonton?
Yeah, Edmonton.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah. And Alberta is gonna be like I hear about Alberta a lot, but it's like the northern part of Canada, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the northern part. So they're kind of known for pretty much resources and oil and. And the economy is more like agricultural and based on like resources like oil, oil and natural gas, as opposed to Toronto, which is more like banking and real estate.
Wait, where's Toronto at?
Toronto is in Ontario. It's in the east.
Okay.
Yeah. So
above the or below the Houston Bay, which is the ocean from the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
It's pretty interesting when you look at the geography of Canada. Like I'm looking at the map right now. The states, or do you call them states? Regions?
Yeah, the provinces.
Provinces, yeah. But would that be equivalent to the American states?
Yeah, equivalent.
Like they're huge if you compare them to America.
Yeah,
you have, how many do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. But your land mass looks bigger than the United States.
Yeah, it is very large. The funny thing though is that it has large land mass, but most of it is not livable. Like when you go up to like Northwest Territories, or none of it is very cold, and the actual population distribution is very like geared towards the southern parts. Okay. Of Canada. Okay. And I think it's probably true in most countries, like even in Scandinavia, like most people live in the southern parts, like Helsinki and Stockholm.
Yeah, that's very
true. When you go up north, it's like very few people are there. So it's kind of similar in Canada.
Yeah, the population density really goes down for every kilometer north that you go. That's accurate.
It's kind of ironic how like it's like the warmer the climate, the more people live there. Yeah. But then we're also concerned about global warming, and it's like we don't want it too warm. It's like, well, you guys are literally moving to like the warmest parts of our countries.
Well, I don't know if it's all about the heat though.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like that's kind of a rookie mistake of people that like, for example, I was talking with one guy yesterday at a party from Spain, and he's like, or no, he was from Mexico actually, and he's like, oh, it only looked like it was going to be -2 degrees, so like Celsius. Yeah. So that's why I thought it would be okay, but then they completely neglect the darkness, which is like 99% of the difficulty of living in a northern country, in my opinion.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah, the darkness is an issue.
Because like, who cares about temperature really?
Yeah,
it's all about the light.
It's true. Yeah, the light's probably more important than temperature.
Yeah.
Because temperature, the reality is that even like the southern parts of Canada are pretty cold, but people live there still. It's probably like just like the sunlight.
Yeah.
How much time the sun's in, out. So,
yeah. And like, not to mention, the sun can also give heat,
That's
by
true,
infrared.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Because I remember you said that you're from Stockholm, right?
Yeah, I'm growing
that's
up
in the
Stockholm.
southern. Is that the southern part of Sweden or something?
Yeah, it is more or less. It's pretty much in kind of the same latitude as Riga, which is where we are right now.
Okay.
For people who are listening, and so it's more. I mean, you can see here on the map, it's kind of in the middle-ish.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. This is the middle-ish. Oh, okay. I thought it was in like this. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, the south actually we lost it to the Danes. They kind of took the south of Sweden for some time.
Oh,
so,
gotcha.
Yeah. Stockholm is kind of a cool city because it's based on very small islands, and so the name like Stockholm actually stock means how do you say, like the tree trunk.
Okay.
When you cut the tree trunk, you have like a log.
Log.
Yeah. Okay. And holm is like an island, I think. So, and the reason is because they put these logs in the water to protect from the ships. Because the ships can't go over the logs.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's kind of a protection for invasion.
Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people probably don't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that. It's more you know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so, how was it like growing up in Edmonton?
Yeah, it was pretty nice. It was a very kind of suburban kind of life.
What does suburban mean?
Suburban just means it's like a gated community. It's like people that live like not in the city, but like in the outskirts of the city, where you have like neighborhoods.
Also suburbs.
The suburbs, okay. The suburbs.
Gotcha.
And I kind of live in the suburbs, and it was a pretty nice place. It's very outdoorsy. A lot of mountain biking, playing hockey. People were friendly. It was a pretty high trust society, and the neighborhoods were very kind of safe. And
that's good, right? We want to live in high trust societies.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah, for sure.
Just to make it obvious, why is it good to live in a high trust society, and what does it mean?
Well,
practically speaking,
high trust just means that like you have a degree of empathy for like your fellow people, so you kind of help them out. It's kind of like basic stuff, like you help them out, and also the crime rate's very low because you have a sense of connection to the people. So it's almost like you wouldn't rob like your cousin, right? Because you're related to them. Just like in a high trust society, you wouldn't rob someone.
Unless he's an asshole.
Yeah, if he's really bad. Yeah, he's an asshole. But
I hear what you're saying. So like trust within a family, for example.
Within a family, it's kind of just extended to like the community where,
right?
Like just like how your cousins are part of your extended family, so is like the people in your neighborhood. They're like your extended version of your family, and you have a kinship with them. Like we're from the same country, we're from the same culture. Like we're not gonna. I would never like just so like wouldn't commit a crime and things. So yeah. So,
okay, kind of like Sweden used to be in like the 70s, but here's the question: where does that trust come from? Because it doesn't come. It's not entirely natural to trust. People that aren't that close to you, I guess.
Yeah, it isn't really natural. I think it's a degree of kinship. I guess I don't know. It's kind of hard to find the right word, but it's a sort of a type of kinship with fellow people, which is kind of developed over a long period of time. It's not something you can like necessarily force, and it has to be developed. It's not something that you can just kind of like retroactively just like force in. It's like a community kinship, a sort of a shared interest, a shared identity, a shared kind of feeling of like togetherness and stuff, which is very hard to kind of create. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, but we're talking about trust, so it's like, I mean, trust is kind of a complicated thing, which explains why it's hard to pinpoint exactly what it is that makes a high trust society. But obviously, you need some good track record. Like you can't have like five burglaries. How do you say it? Burglaries. Last year, and then like that's gonna like ruin the trust. So you need some type of a good track record, I think.
Yeah, and you need a good track record. Yeah.
And probably like common values too, because what's something that undermines trust is like not understanding who the other person is. Like if you feel very different to someone, whether it's like an individual or another group, I don't think you're gonna trust them because you don't know what they're thinking. So and you can't predict them at all. So why would you trust them? That would be foolish.
Yeah.
So probably like being similar to the other people in that group is.
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of a similar, shared, and you wouldn't even consider like trying to like do something bad to them and do something negative towards them.
Right.
And crime is a very wide category. There's so many different types of crime. There's like white collar and blue collar, like the main divisions. But I think generally speaking, in a low trust society, you tend to see more crime and more division and things like that.
Yeah.
And sadly, I think society's probably heading towards that direction.
What is?
Society,
in general,
the world as a whole, is probably heading towards that direction.
The less trust direction.
Yeah, in the less trust direction. I think just yesterday I read a story in Toronto where the government, like the TPS, was recommending putting fobs in like Faraday bags outside your home.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you know much about that, but
no, nothing.
Okay, so the TPS is the Toronto Police Service. That's what it stands for, and it's in. I have family in Toronto, so I kind of know about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the fobs are like those things like when you start a car, they have like these keyless things. They're called fobs. I don't know what you call them.
Like
in Sweden.
Wireless key?
Yeah,
to your car?
like wireless key.
Oh.
And Faraday bags are like these little like mesh like bags that they sell that protects electric devices. So it's just where you put your fobs in to protect it, I guess, from like skimming and hacking and stuff. And it's a crazy story.
Wait, so just to be clear, what we're talking about. So like, for example, I heard that some thieves can, when you go to your car and you press the signal, they can kind of copy that.
Yeah, they can copy that and stuff.
And then they can use your key digitally to break into your car later.
Yeah, I think that's how it works.
Okay, and so you're saying that you can protect
your fobs in these Faraday bags, which they sell. And there's a crazy story that happened in Toronto where they're having an issue with armed robberies. And I don't even know what there's a guy named Colleen Noir who was talking about it. The government was recommending, the police, they did a conference, they're recommending if you leave your fobs in Faraday bags outside your door, it would prevent armed robberies because the robbers would come, they'll be and then if they just see your car keys, they won't rob your house, they'll just take your keys. So it's safer to just give the robbers your keys.
Oh, I see.
It's crazy.
So like you're safer in the castle if you leave all of the gold outside.
Just leave it outside. So then the robbers will be like, oh, okay, I don't have to rob the house. They're giving me the keys. So I'll just take the car or the fobs. And then I remember when I read that, I'm like, that can't be real. and then
to prevent the possibility of being attacked in your home, leave your fobs at your front door because they're breaking into your home to steal your car. They don't want anything else. A lot of them that they're arresting have guns on them, and they're not toy guns, they're real guns. They're loaded. It
was actually like a real thing. It's on YouTube. Colleen Noir talks about it. Like,
He's great.
Yeah. He literally did a thing, and I'm like, I can't believe like that's what they're saying now. Like literally leave your fobs on outside for people. And then I couldn't believe it. And then I'm like, how does that make any sense?
So they're actually being serious?
Yeah, they're being serious about that. But it's like a general thing where they're making it easier for criminals. Like,
is that just in Toronto or?
Well, I've just heard of it in Toronto. I'm sure that's going to be spread elsewhere. But it's just like there's this whole thing about trying to make it easier for criminals. And trying to just and like
why?
Yeah,
I don't get it.
It's like they don't want to just enforce the law and maybe like arrest criminals. They just want to like just tell victims to just like let it be easier for criminals to take your stuff. And it's just weird.
I mean, let's try to steel man their insane point. So I suppose if I take all of my belongings before I go to bed and like just put them outside my door, the risk that someone would come in and hurt me perhaps would be slightly less. Although they are already hurting me by stealing all my shit. Just not physically.
Pretty much, yeah. I think this to steal man, it's like criminals tend not to want to kill you. They want to steal from you. So there is some truth that there is something to just like for example, I would probably if it was a criminal that wanted to take my car, just be like, take my car. Like I'm not stupid. I'm not gonna fight a criminal. I'm not gonna risk my life to save my car or a belonging. Just take my stuff.
Don't say that. They're gonna
swarm on you. They're gonna rob me now. But there is something to that. Because I've seen videos of people in America, for example, where a guy would rob his car and he'd fight the guy, and I'm like, dude, you're you're gonna die. Like you're gonna get shot. You're gonna get killed. It's not worth like dying. Just
also, like I've seen a lot of videos of like store owners, like tobacco stores or like these small gas stations, and then they really like risk their lives for a couple of bucks.
It's true, yeah.
Like somebody's literally holding a gun to their face, and they're like, "Okay, I'll comply," and then they like grab their shotgun.
I know.
Like
it is weird. It is weird to do. It's like, do you really want to risk your life over like?
It's not rational. It's not rational, but it's like, I think it's something like, they don't want to get humiliated, or they, I don't know, matter of pride and.
But also at the same time, I can understand money is important to people. Like, for example, there was a video of like this guy. He was in like an Uber or a Lyft, and he was getting carjacked by these two people.
Yeah. These
two girls, like they had a taser, and they were like carjacking this guy. I think it was like this Pakistani guy who was in America, and he literally fought for his life to save his car. And even though it seems irrational, I can understand from his perspective, like that's his life. Like, his life is his car, and his job is to drive his car. Like you're literally taking his whole like well-being away from him. So I can kind of.
Wait, was it an Uber driver or?
I think it was probably an Uber driver, either Uber or Lyft. I think it might have been Uber. But
I feel that
guy. I can understand that at the same time, because a lot of people are struggling to like make ends meet with inflation, cost of living. So taking people's money is a big deal to them. So I don't want to like downplay like taking people's money.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like a cost benefit analysis. You have to like think to yourself, is it rational what I'm doing?
Yeah.
If someone's gonna like steal like $50 from the cashier, like give them the money. Don't get into a gunfight over $50. But then if it's like a serious thing, like a lot of like expensive stuff like your car, I can understand some pushback. But
I mean, at some point, I don't know if you're at the brink of not making ends meet and maybe starving. That doesn't happen in the West to a large extent at all. But let's say maybe in like a developing part of the world, like maybe Africa or India, and somebody's like stealing all of your like the thing that gives you your daily bread. Like that's gonna be he's maybe threatening your life at that point. So then it makes
more sense because I have seen videos of people in more poor countries like fighting robbers. I can understand that because it's like money is hard to come by, so taking someone's money is like way more destructive to their well-being.
Yeah.
And see like and be like the actual police are super incompetent. So if somebody steals from you, there's like a very low likelihood the police are going to do anything. And the robbers, they do benefit a lot because if a robber robs your stuff, they're going to benefit. The police aren't going to catch this guy. The police are incompetent. So the police are probably corrupt themselves. They're probably going to try to steal from you as well. So
where are we talking about right now?
Oh, just in general, like I know. But the thing is, like I know the West is probably going in that direction, but but I'm talking about just like like in like third world countries in general, like they're kind of like that. So I
mean, even Sweden at this point, like my dad told me a friend of his that owns a like gold store. He had two burglars coming into his store, and then like they broke the glass. I don't remember the exact details, but somehow they broke the glass, and then they left, and then he called the police after, and then like when the police arrived, the first thing they said was like, "Oh, this is clearly insurance fraud."
Oh, wow.
That he apparently should have broken his own glass of his own store to get money.
Wow.
Like that level of arrogance and incompetence, just because they're overloaded with so many errands to do, they just write them off without like doing anything. Another person in the countryside, like his house was broken into, and the police are like, "Oh, so okay, somebody broke into your house. Wow, we don't know what to do. Good luck."
I know. Like, a lot of there's actually a term that I don't know if they use in Sweden. It's called clearance rates. It's pretty much if a crime happens, what is the likelihood that the crime gets processed and the crime leads to a conviction and that conviction leads to an arrest. It's called clearance rates.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and each country has different clearance rates, and they kind of differ year by year, and they differ based on the actual crime itself. So the clearance rate for, say, murder is actually pretty high. If you murder someone, the police are going to get involved.
Because they're prioritizing
Yeah, it's a priority. But if you get robbed, or if you get, like, say like a shoplifter at a store, that clearance rate is very low. Like, if someone just takes something from, like a convenience store, they're going to get away with it. If they leave, they're gone. Like, police aren't gonna like get involved and spend resources trying to find shoplifters and things. So and people have done studies on clearance rates, and they've actually been going down, which pretty much indicates that the reason why crime rates going up is because the police aren't doing their job essentially, and they're not really focusing on crime. They're not. And the clearance rate's going down and down year by year.
If clearance rate is going down, that means less people are convicted of the smaller crimes, right?
Yeah, the smaller crimes. That's what people don't understand. People think like murder is going up. It's not that murder is going up, it's that crime in general is going up. So things like assaults, aggravated assaults, robbery, carjacking, shoplifting, things like that are kind of seen as like lower priority crimes. Those clearance rates have gone down.
I guess that's where you see, you can tell apart like which nations are functioning and which are not, because I believe most nations are gonna go after the high priority like murders, for example, but you're gonna see the difference on the lower priority things like the thefts and all of them.
Pretty much the thefts and things like that, and that's why a lot of these shops, they kind of rely on security guards to kind of govern their areas, but security guards are very limited in what they can do to a shoplifter. For example, a police officer can kind of do whatever they want to you, but a security guard is very limited by their rights.
By the law,
by the law. So like, I think it depends on country by country, but like a security guard can't like detain you. They can take your shoplifting stuff, but a security guard can't detain you. And a lot of security guards can't even use guns per se. It depends.
No, they can't.
Yeah, they can.
And not in Sweden, at least.
Not in Sweden. So
I actually have a security guard license. I got it through the military.
Oh, okay.
You're supposed to guard the castle in the military in Sweden. So we actually had to go through like a security guard course, and then a lot of that is like the laws. What do you have the right to do? What do you like? Sometimes you have to wait for the police and stuff like that.
And you got to be really careful to read the law, because if you do something you're not allowed to do as a security guard, you can get arrested or something.
Yes.
So you have to really be careful about what your duties are, what you're allowed to do based on the law.
Yeah.
And because there have been instances where security guards have gone too far and they've done too much. They were like too violent, and they've kind of overstepped their boundaries.
Yeah.
And they've done things that they're not allowed to do as a security guard. So it's kind of very, very, very. It kind of depends on what state you're in, or what province you're in, or what country you're in. I mean, reading the law is like very, very careful. Even like self-defense, like you gotta read what you're allowed to do for self-defense.
Yeah.
Because there've been people that have tried to do self-defense stuff, and they've been arrested for it because they've overstepped boundaries.
Yeah.
There's actually a guy in France he was like a farmer in France. He got robbed by some people, and he ended up using a gun and shooting them, and then the police arrested him because they don't have many self-defense laws in France. Like maybe you can do that in America, but you can't do that in France. So that's why every citizen it's like their duty to read like what are the laws in your country? What are you allowed to do? Because you're gonna like get yourself in serious trouble if you don't like read your own laws and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I feel like that should be something in school, like that should be like a mandatory course in school. That you should be exposed to at least the most important laws of your country before becoming an active citizen,
It's like civics class where you learn about like the specific laws and stuff. And I think they used to have, I don't know if they have that in Sweden. I know they used to have that in Canada, but probably don't do it as much now. I know there's a lot of stuff in schools where I didn't really like too much. Like I know a lot of schools kind of useless. Like they teach you kind of stuff that isn't like super practical in real everyday life, which is kind of
definitely
annoying. Like a lot of stuff in school is kind of useless, and I don't know. I know a lot of people are getting disenfranchised with like the education establishment and public school systems and stuff, and it's kind of super.
Do you believe in public school at all? Like if we go super hardcore on.
I'm not entirely sure. I'm not even sure if it's like inherently bad. I don't know if the issue is like the actual Department of Education or the concept of public schools, like the concept of paying taxes for education.
Because in Canada, you do have private schools.
We have we have private and public schools, but public schools are the dominant like form of education.
To what percent, like, would you estimate?
I'm not sure the exact percent, but it is a large percentage. The actual Department of Education gets a lot of money, many billions of dollars. And
it's more socialist in that way than the U.S.
It's definitely more socialist than the U.S., I would say.
And it's been like that for a long time, I guess?
Yeah, it's been like that for a long time. Although there are private school options. There are ways, and the private schools aren't particularly expensive. I mean, it depends on what your budget is, but
what would you estimate the percentage? Just that like we get some type of estimate.
Are you talking about like how much private schools cost?
No. Like how many people if you take 100 people?
Oh, I would say 95%.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would say it's a high. I mean, that's an estimate.
Yeah.
But what I do know is the cost of private education, just because it's around $3,000 a year, which to a lot of people is probably not affordable. But I mean, it's one of those things where
that's for private school.
Yeah, for private schools.
It's not too much.
Yeah, it's not too much. At least when I grew up, that's what it was. I don't know what it is now. I'm sure it's probably more money now, to be honest.
Like we're paying $6,000 per semester.
Yeah, I know,
so
but
that's
that's
$12,000.
But I'm talking about actual school, like elementary school, junior. I'm talking about people in like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. I'm talking about like universities. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's one of those things where I don't know, people are willing to like spend on like elementary school or.
Is that gonna be the same cost
high.
for high school students and elementary students?
I think it probably goes up a bit for high school, but it's around that range. But that was how much it was when I was growing up.
Did you go to public school?
Well, I actually went to private school for a bit, and then I went to public school. The thing what people don't understand about public school is that it's not like they're like, it depends on which one you're like, they're not all bad. It depends on like which ones like you can get into. So it's kind of like depending on like, because a lot of public schools are very good. It just depends on like your neighborhood and where you are. If you're in like a maybe more poor neighborhood, it's not going to be as good.
Like private school isn't automatically better? Is that
no, I'm talking about public schools. Public schools,
yep.
it varies, but private schools are actually pretty good. Universally, they're good.
Yeah.
But public schools, it's like it depends on where you're living.
Sure.
If you're in a low income neighborhood, you don't get much, there's not much tax revenue.
Yeah.
Obviously, the public schools are not going to be very good.
Is that how they're funded? Through the neighborhood?
No, I think it's like a provincial thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's more provincial.
Although if you're in a lower income a neighborhood or community, then it's gonna be more a bigger load that the school has to carry.
Yeah, I would say so.
Which like more resources go to things that aren't education, perhaps.
Yeah, I think something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for me, I don't know in Sweden, do you have private schools in Sweden?
We do, but I would say it's even more rare than Canada. Like I was thinking about that. You said 95% approximately.
Yeah.
I would say Sweden is maybe 99 or even more.
Okay.
Probably maybe 1 promille.
Oh. Okay.
1 in 1,000.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Sweden is very socialist.
Yeah.
It's been like that for a long time too.
Really?
Yeah. Although now I would guess now private schools are becoming more popular because everything isn't working as good anymore.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
It's probably going in that direction.
Yeah.
What about like your family? Are they into like? Do they agree with you? Your family?
With my views?
Yeah, just in general, like.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, you know how women and men differ on the political spectrum.
Yeah.
Like women tend to be a little bit more left, and men a little bit more right.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot even these days.
Probably.
I mean I would say that goes for my family too. Like with my sisters and my mother. Versus my brothers and my father.
Interesting.
But we're more or less on the same page, I would say, because we always discuss a lot of things, and it's kind of like we've always had a tradition of kind of confronting stupid ideas. That you got to take responsibility for stupid ideas.
Interesting.
I mean, I'm not saying it's the most like caring environment, but at least you weed out the bad ideas from the good one. And if you like, if we were at the Sunday dinner with my family, then like if you say something, then you better be able to back it up. And that's also like a thing about having many siblings. I would say that's you don't get away with bullshit that you would get away with as a single child. Like we love you so much no matter what you do.
Makes sense. So you actually do come from a big family.
I do, yeah. I actually have 5 siblings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of them are half siblings, which makes the composition even more fierce.
Oh, wow.
For the attention,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you come from like a more religious family? Because I heard like religious families have more kids than non-religious.
I actually don't. I do come from, like, my dad is pretty conservative, I would say. So so our values are going to be closer to religion in that way. But we definitely don't have any people, at least in like 3 generations back, that have gone to church or anything. So
gotcha.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking into it right now. I actually went to church like last week. I went to Catholic church, and the week before that I went to a more free church, like the more American style, just to check it out, to see how it is.
Interesting.
And I've been reading a little bit in the Quran, just to get exposed to the ideas and.
Right.
Yeah. What about yourself?
Well, I was just gonna say, like, what is the major church in Sweden? Is it like the Catholic Church?
It's gonna be Protestant because like Gustav Vasa, which was a king that made Sweden free from the Danish, he kind of made us free from the Catholic Church too, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And kind of seized some of their property
interesting.
To make Sweden strong.
Interesting. So he kind of seceded from the Catholic kind of thing and
and allegedly it was harder also for the Catholic Church to control Sweden since it's further north.
Okay.
So further from the center of power in Rome, in the Vatican. So that's what I've heard.
Interesting. But then I would say like probably today, like most Swedes are probably agnostic. I mean, like I get the vibe that Scandinavians tend not to be religious.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
What's mostly common, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they probably, like if you ask that question to them, like, or if you ask them, are you agnostic or atheist, they'd probably be a little bit taken back just by the question because I don't think they think about it at all, actually.
Oh, okay.
But if you would actually properly define them out, they would be extremely inactive Protestant Christians or maybe atheist or agnostic. I think is if they were properly categorized.
Oh, interesting.
Because they might go to church, like just for cultural reasons, like maybe in Christmas or something for some songs.
Oh, okay.
And like that's it.
Interesting.
Yeah, and there's like Swedish values these days are very progressive, so they're very much not in line with, for example, Catholic Church.
Okay.
So you would have the Protestant Church is actually like adapting to the current cultural and political climate.
Oh, gotcha.
So they're like, gay marriage is great.
Okay.
LGBTQ is awesome.
Right.
And migration, very, very good.
Right.
So they're kind of, how do you say?
Yeah, they kind of like accept the norms. They're very culturally. It's funny because Christianity is really good at adapting to just the culture that they're in at that moment. I don't know what it is about it, because even in Islam, like you don't really have that. Islam is very like, we believe in the book and we're not changing. Christianity is like this weird, like we're gonna change. It's the year 2024. You know what I mean? It's
even
weird.
The Catholic Church to some degree,
Yeah.
Even them, which is the most strict of the Christian.
More strict. Yeah. Because even like Pope Francis, I've heard him say all sorts of things that it's pretty progressive. Like he's not full on progressive, but he's like, when it comes to all sorts of different issues. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he accepted gay marriage.
Yeah, exactly. I think he did.
Yeah. Which is...
it is kind of weird because you don't see that in Hinduism or Islam or any other stuff. I mean, I don't know how much of that is the religion or how much of that is just like the actual country it happens to be in.
Yeah.
But even like Muslims that like live in the West aren't particularly like into that, like imams and stuff. So it's almost like there's an aspect of Christianity because of like Jesus is like a very kind of sentimental figure. Like I died for your sins, I sacrificed. It's very sentimental. Yeah. That sentimentality in Christianity does lay itself to being kind of almost like taken advantage of by cultural norms, where like it'll just adapt to whatever culture it's in, almost. So Christianity.
More or less.
More or less.
I hope it has an anchor somehow.
Yeah.
That it's kind of floating around that anchor depending on where the wind blows.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah.
Because there was the Crusades, so you never know. You never know. I mean, there's stuff's happened. So.
What about the Crusade?
I don't know. I've heard something. I've heard about this thing that's happened.
It's interesting. The Crusades actually came up on topic my last podcast too.
Oh,
I don't know why, but
really?
it did.
Well, everything always goes back to the Crusades. every discussion eventually leads to the Crusades. But yeah, I don't know.
But you're not religious, are you?
Yeah, the thing for me is like I did grow up like in Hinduism, and then I kind of was pretty atheistic. And then I kind of like went towards Christianity, and then I kind of was more interested in Christianity. And then I think now I'm kind of in a bit of a unsure phase where I do. Yeah. Probably my favorite religion is probably Christianity, but I would say I'm probably an atheist. But the thing about it is that we're always in different parts of our lives. Like we're going to live until whatever, we're 80, 90 or whatever.
Yeah.
So, like people change throughout their lives. You know what I mean? People become born again Christians. People, whatever. Like, people go through all sorts of phases in their lives. So, at my current phase, I cannot say I'm religious in my current phase because I'm not. Like, I'm probably.
You'd be lying.
Yeah, I'll be lying. You know what I mean? And I have heard people being like, "I'm Christian." I'm like, "Have you read the Bible? Do you go to church?" You know what I mean? Like people say Christian all the time. Doesn't mean anything. People wear crosses all the time. It doesn't mean anything. Sure. So I think there needs to be like a degree of honesty where you can only be a Christian if you're like genuine about it. Like I read the Bible and I go to church. Yeah. Same with other religions, Hinduism, Judaism, and Islam. If you're not that, I think it's kind of almost fraudulent to say you're religious because then you're just like a weird, like, I'm just saying a word that means I like to like hang out with people or something, but I'm not serious about it.
Sure, yeah.
I don't read the books.
You're getting access to the community, but you're not really committed.
You're not committed. And I think a big part of Christianity is being genuine and being committed and being honest because there's so much like disingenuousness in religion and people just say stuff. So
a lot of people are wearing a cross.
Yeah, exactly.
Like on Tinder a lot, and in dating apps, people a lot of girls I see wear like crosses either as earrings or necklaces or what have you, and then I tend to ask them like, does that actually mean something for you? Yeah, it's like no, it's just for style. Yeah, and I mean even I even have friends like for example one of my best friends here is from Portugal. I'm not gonna call him out, but like he doesn't go to church and I don't know, he doesn't really read the Bible yet. He has like this cross that he's wearing, and that's not uncommon. A lot of people do that. Yeah, and I hear you. It's a little bit annoying because you're like, you're saying you are something and you aren't really. Yeah, it is kind of go into like that broad concept of just virtue signaling. Like I'm signaling a virtue, but I'm not really being genuine about it. But it's true for everything. It's true for politics. It's true for religion, culture. Just like a general like virtue signaling, which is very common amongst millennials and Zoomers, where like you feel people are just being fake. Like whenever you talk to people, I just feel like they're not being honest. I feel like disingenuousness. I feel fakeness. Yeah. I feel like they're just trying to like virtue themselves in public, like signal their virtue. Let's pick apart the meaning of the word virtue signaling because it's actually very interesting. Do you wanna give it?
Well, I would say like a general definition of virtue signaling is pretty much you aren't concerned. You're concerned with how you're perceived. You're not concerned. But,
like let's start with the word virtue.
Yeah, virtue just
it's
means,
kind of a complex word actually.
Virtue means like positive kind of like,
attributes.
Positive attributes
of character.
Yeah, positive character attributes.
Like being brave or being generous.
Yeah, or pretty smart. Much positive things like brave, generous, kind. Caring, helpful, stuff. Even like intelligence and stuff. People virtue signal based on intelligence. Like people want to say they're smarter than they are. People want to say they're better looking than they are. People want to say they're nicer than they are. But then that's separate from like a genuine, like a realness. Like what are you really? Like are you actually intelligent? Are you actually a good person? Like what do you actually do? Like do you actually like help people? You know what I mean? So I think virtue signaling is sort of like what we talked about virtue, and then signaling means that you're kind of like releasing signals, releasing sort of almost stimuli to the outside environment because you want to be perceived well. It's not like you are actually virtuous. You want to be perceived as virtuous. And I think in the Bible,
so it's collecting cheap points.
Yeah, it's collecting kind of cheap points. So for example, I think in the Bible, I don't know if it says it specifically, but essentially you should be a good person quietly. In other words,
it does say that in the Bible.
Yeah, so you should. So anybody who helps someone, but they're recording themselves for their Instagram stories, that's a fake person. That's not someone that's being honest. They're doing it for fake points, for Instagram clout, or like fake like virtue signaling points. But somebody that helps people quietly and doesn't care if anybody sees them or cares about what they do, which is what I try to do. So what I do is that if I see a homeless person, I give them money, but I don't. I do it very matter of factly, and I don't care if anyone sees me. You know what I mean? It wouldn't even occur to me to record myself or to share it or to tell anybody about it. Yeah. But I think that's like a genuine like virtue. It's not like a fake like virtue signal.
I mean, crazy as it is, you do have a lot of people on social media like actually recording themselves doing these things for homeless people, and
they do that a lot. Yeah, like I'm helping homeless. I've seen so many videos on Instagram, like Instagram stories of people kind of like doing it, and it's so fake, and I think it's very common in like the modern generation. It's like it's almost like an epidemic of virtue signaling. I think people are just like super fake, and it's hard to find like real, genuine kind of.
But you could say that like, oh, they aren't hurting anybody else, but by doing that they're just promoting themselves. But I would say they actually are hurting someone else, because they're hurting, like comparatively speaking, they're hurting the guy that isn't boasting, that isn't like exaggerating, because he looks comparatively worse, you know.
Yeah, pretty much.
And they're collecting rewards on somebody else's behalf, actually.
You can say that. Yeah, they're in a sense hurting someone, but also to even make it more like biblical, you're actually hurting yourself. There's an element of what people don't understand is like when you do immoral things, it's not just like you're hurting other people, you're hurting your soul. Like it's almost like it's like you're hurting yourself, because I remember like there's an actor named Chris Pratt, who was in he's like one of those Hollywood actors, but he's a bit controversial because he's very religious, which is like you can't be a Christian in Hollywood apparently. You have to, and you know it's weird, but he actually like did a speech how like prayer, like why do people pray? Well, it's actually good for your soul, which people don't understand what that even means, but it's actually good for yourself. Like you, like for example, like you helping people without telling anyone, it should be good for you. It helps your soul.
I think it is.
Type of thing. Yeah. It's not inherently about me helping someone else. You know what I mean? So when Christians say that, it kind of like it resonates with me. You know what I mean? When people say stuff like that, like prayer is good for you, and it's good for you not in a material sense. It's good for your soul. It makes you better. Like it's kind of like deeper than just like materials. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can kind of like resonate with that kind of aspect of it. But yeah, like as I was saying before, like I don't call myself like religious in any sense right now, but clearly like Christianity is probably the only religion I can kind of like I vibe with, I understand. And
is that because you've been exposed to it, or?
Yeah, I've been exposed to it. I mean, I'm sure a big part of it is just growing up in the West.
Yeah. Like
maybe if I grew up in like another country, it would be another religion. But I think growing up in the West, and there is an element of Christianity that is very positive. Like there's an element of like welcoming, togetherness. Like
sure.
I've been to churches, and whatever you feel about it, they're actually really good people. Like it's amazing. Like they're very welcoming people, and
feel the same.
Yeah, and a lot of religions tend to be a little bit more standoffish. Like maybe Islam, Hinduism, Judaism, definitely like standoffish. Like maybe like you have to be in this religion if you're if your mom is Jewish, then you're a Jewish type of thing. It's very kind of insular.
Yes, and you're not. They actively try people not to become members in Judaism.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you're interested in Judaism, apparently their first action would be to not encourage you.
Yeah, not encourage you.
I'm not sure as to why that is, but that is the ritual in the. That is the praxis.
It does happen, but then whereas in Christianity there is an element of like we want people to join us. And we'd love to teach you about what we have to say. You know what I mean? And there's that element of it, which is actually kind of a lot of people make fun of it, but there's something really sweet about that, really nice. Like, and for people that are struggling in life, like Christianity, like a lot of them like turn to Christianity because it is welcoming to people that are struggling. And I know like so that's sort of like blessed are the meek, like that aspect of Christianity where like people that are struggling, that are kind of trying to reach out for some kind of like togetherness and some kind of structure. Christianity is the answer for those people, for a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
So I think there is an element of it that's very like kind of really nice about it. I kind of do appreciate Christianity for that. But
the problem that I'm facing with it is like I do appreciate all the things that you were saying about Christianity, but there are gonna be those few things, let's say 2 in 10, like 20% of things that you like. I don't really actually think this. Yeah. And then what we said earlier, like about fooling yourself and being a hypocrite. It's like I don't want to call myself Christian if I can't actually stand up for all of it.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty tough, like I do appreciate a lot of things about it, but and I don't know, maybe it's being too perfectionistic, but I don't know. There's a lot of good things about it and a lot of good people.
Yeah, it's kind of similar because the problem with religion for me is in order to just like avoid the virtue signaling aspect, it either has to be all true or you can't believe. You know what I mean? That's the hard part of religion.
Yeah.
It's like even if you like 95% of it, if you don't like 5%, it's like, you can't believe it. It has to be all true.
Here's the thing. I don't think any Christians, even the Pope, agrees with 100% of the Bible.
Yeah.
I think they're all making a trade-off. Like this, I agree with this enough to commit, and then they're kind of wishy-washy about the things that they don't actually agree with. They kind of like tone them down or talk about other things instead.
Yeah. Maybe so. Yeah.
I think you and I we're kind of like a little bit perfectionist in that way, and we want to do things properly, and we want to act righteously. So perhaps we're not very inclined to commit.
Yeah, to commit. Yeah.
Yeah. Some other people might not be as clear about what they believe, and you know.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, the point about like they do a trade-off. I think most Christians do a trade-off, which is kind of tough. I mean,
not even all Christians, like all of the religions.
Yeah,
probably.
all of them probably. Yeah.
Like I know a lot of Muslims that drink, for example.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, a lot of them do trade-offs and things like that.
And like they have premarital sex.
Yeah.
And you know that's not allowed. Maybe that's the whole thing about the forgiveness.
Yeah, maybe
thing.
So.
Because that leaves an opening to people who wouldn't be members, but you can recruit members if you have the forgiveness part.
Yeah.
Because then they can keep being themselves but still enter to your religion.
But the problem I have with that is that now you're just like playing a game where you're like, I'm just gonna do bad stuff and forgive it because
bad stuff according to the book.
To the book.
Yeah.
Because I feel like forgiveness should be a genuine. Because I'm getting back to the whole genuine thing. Forgiveness should be, I did not want to do something bad, but I just unfortunately did. Please forgive me. It should be like that. It can't be like, I'm going to do something bad and I'll just get forgiven. You know what I mean? That's like a not genuine form of forgiveness versus a more genuine forgiveness, which is like, I genuinely made a mistake, even though I did not want to make a mistake type of thing.
I want to correct my course.
Yeah, I want to correct my course because I just did something bad, which I didn't want to do type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things, and it's interesting in Sweden that you're kind of like how does Sweden differ from like Norway and Finland? Are they like in terms of religion? Are they like the same?
No, we're all gonna be more or less Christian. Although nowadays, I think actually I take that back. I think Islam actually right now is the biggest active religion in Sweden.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Can we take a quick toilet break?
Yeah.
Okay,
sure,
we'll be back.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I also saw some Teslas because they have like an app, like an aux app, where you can rent Teslas.
Yeah.
I saw like 2 Teslas like right over there when I was coming. Have you seen those before? Is it like you see Teslas?
The black Teslas?
There's one white one and one black one.
And you can rent them, right?
Yeah, you can rent them. It's like 50 cents an hour, 50 cents a minute or something.
Mm-hmm. You want this?
But yeah.
I mean, if you want to flex a Tesla.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, the flexing is funny. Whenever you see them, it's a total flex because it's not even your Tesla. You're just like renting it out. But
it's kind of what we were talking about earlier about like.
Yeah, I know.
Purchasing like.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, But yeah, it is kind of weird because those Teslas, like, I don't know, I don't know if it's worth it, but yeah, it's funny because they always have this like unique license plate. Because I think it's like a ride share, so it's like I think it's like a blue license plate. Like you always tell like it's not a real Tesla, or it's a ride share when you see the license plates and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm sure like those guys which I saw in the Tesla, I'm sure they were just like clout chasing, and they were like they're just like putting it on their Instagram or their Tinder and like, yo, I got a Tesla, and I'm sure they all believe them, like it's a real Tesla. It's actually yours, I would believe it.
You can actually lease a Tesla very cheaply these days, like for like per month. I think it wasn't more than 100 euros per month.
Oh, is it? Okay,
yeah.
Okay, that's not bad. Yeah,
no.
100 euros a month.
Or no, it might have been like 200.
It's probably more than that.
I'll say 200.
I'm pretty sure insurance is more than that.
Well, it was actually. I mean, it was actually around 200 because I remember like if I didn't have this apartment, I could either have this apartment or a Tesla.
Oh.
Obviously I went with the apartment, but like. As a thought experiment, and that's so it must have been around 200.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of like I want to like get a new apartment because like I'm paying like more for less. I feel like my apartment's like way more expensive. So yeah, I'll go on that SS.LV and stuff.
Can I ask how much you pay?
Yeah, it's like it's so much more. It's like more than double. It's like freaking like I don't want to say. I'm so embarrassed by how much it is.
I mean, I used to pay way more. That's why I actually put effort to find something cheaper to compensate for my years of losses.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, but
in terms of this like podcast, like there's so many topics like that we can talk about. Like is there a specific direction that you want to go into?
No,
or just
anything that you're
so
interested
much
in.
Stuff.
I mean,
because we're talking about like very like broad politics and religion. We can also go into like life experiences, personal. We can go into like friends. We can go into country. Like it's just like so many topics, philosophy.
Sure.
But it's like there's so many like like avenues to go down.
I mean, I'll invite you back so we can go through all of the topics. So that's why it's not like very strict.
How do you choose like I know you've talked to like a couple other guys. You just like randomly just like ask people that you think are interesting. Like
like whoever. It's just like picking out friends. Like who do you become friends with?
I guess people that are like that have something interesting to say, like some political view or some.
Well, for me, that's gonna be the case because I'm that type of a guy. So that's gonna be the type of people that I could see myself becoming like friends with in the future.
Gotcha,
but it's like why do people become your friends and why do some people don't? That's kind of the same question actually.
Yeah.
It's actually really really weird when you think about it because like I saw a meme the other day that girl from church put up and it's like how we get friends. It's like, oh, I like this person, and then you just go and do things with them.
It feels weird drinking beer from a teacup. It feels really weird.
You're not supposed to say that.
Yeah, I know. I won't say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been to the UK, but the UK has a really good pub culture. Like I've been to the UK, and sometimes me and some people we go pub crawling. We just go to different pubs and stuff. One of the good things about the UK is that they got really nice pubs there. It's like a part of the culture. You know what I mean? I don't know if they have it in Sweden, like pubs and stuff. Do they have that?
I mean, pubs are gonna be. Like you don't just mean bar when you say that, do you?
No, I mean essentially a bar that has a very like community, like family community aspect to it.
Not really. It's more commercial. I would say in Stockholm, it's like here's your beer, sit down. We don't have anything to do with each other because it's like.
Gotcha.
It's a different social environment.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Makes sense. It's not very family or like friendly feeling.
Okay.
Because that's what you mean with pubs, right? It's like, welcome back, lad. Here's your usual beer or whatever.
It's kind of like that,
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was in Toronto, there's a bit of a pub culture, not much, but when I went there, I just get like a tab, and then we all like just buy each other beers. It's like a very kind of family thing, community thing.
And they kind of know you. And
they kind of know you, and then I just like put on the tab.
But that assumes that the owner is kind of there all the time, and he builds a relationship with you.
Yeah.
In Stockholm, I feel like it's like you have a new employee every day, so it's gonna be difficult to build a relationship. And even if that employee was working every day, it's not socially correct to become friends with someone.
That's true. There's actually a pub in Toronto. Is that a recording? No.
It is recording.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm joking. It's called. No, I'm joking. No, there's actually a pub in Toronto. It's called. Should I say what it's called? What can I say?
What do you want to say?
It's an exclusive club for people that are right wing in Canada. That meet up like every so often.
Mm-hmm.
Some like prominent people that are kind of
like how Christians were in the beginning when they were all getting lynched for being Christians.
Exactly. But yeah, so I mean, it's just like a fun pub where like right wing people kind of go, and there's some well known people that I've met there. That I don't know if you'll know who they are, but they were kind of popular in Canada, maybe.
Like the Petersons.
Yeah, kind of the Petersons. There's a couple other people. Like
what about this new guy? This Olivier or whatever. The guy who ate an apple and kind of roasted roasted Trudeau.
Pierre Poilievre. Yeah, he's pretty cool. He's actually, most of my friends probably support him. He's really like well spoken and he's a really smart guy.
Yeah.
He's very like economic, like he's like kind of more into like market capitalism and stuff like that.
Kind of like what's his name? Argentinian guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Argentinian
What's his name?
guy.
Millet?
Yeah, Milo or something.
Millet, I think.
Yeah. It is kind of like that, but he's a pretty cool guy and stuff, and I kind of do like him.
Yeah.
I was thinking like in Sweden, like what are the parties in Sweden? I know you have like, it's very complicated, like the names of the parties. Like it's not like you're not like liberals and conservatives, right? It's like
it's sort of like that. We dude, can you stop spitting?
Oh, sorry.
We do have like the conservatives, which are going to be called Moderaterna, which is moderates, which should be more center, but they aren't really. And then you have the Social Democrats, which is going to be the leftists. But you do also have these smaller parties as well. Like we don't just have two.
Okay.
So those would be the major right and the left. The way it looked, the years that I've been growing up and the years that I've been following the elections, which would have been from 2000 to until today. Those were the right and left, and then you had the Swedish Democrats, which would be known as the racists in Sweden. I'm not saying that's true. That's just who they are, how they're known, and they're gonna be more restrictive on immigration.
Okay.
But in terms of if they're leftist or right, I can't say for sure. Some people say they're actually a little bit more left. And then you're gonna have Vänsterpartiet, which is like the communist. They used to be called Kommunistpartiet, Communist Party.
Okay.
Then they became more rumsrena, like fit for the rooms.
Gotcha. Wait, so the Swedish Democrats, they're right wing, and then what's like the Liberal Party again?
The Swedish Democrats aren't really the right wing though. They're, I mean, sort of. Okay. That's kind of a ongoing debate.
Okay.
The moderates are the right ones. So Socialdemokraterna, Social Democrats are on the left.
Oh, Social Democrats.
Yeah, they're kind of the biggest at this point.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
And they've like the Social Democrats has been the ruling party in Sweden for many years, like since even elections started. Like Sweden has been extremely socialist for very long.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh. But dude, which semester are you in university right now?
Yeah, semester 7.
We're both studying medicine, obviously. So
semester 7, but I'm actually going through like a bit of a whether I should change my career path as well. Like
really?
I'm kind of thinking whether I should try something else. I don't know. It's like I'm not really sure.
But you're pretty far along.
Yeah, I am pretty far along. So I don't
You're
know.
already past the preclinical stuff, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
When does that end? Like 6th semester?
Yeah, 6th semester, yeah.
So you're getting into the practical
stuff, yeah. But it's kind of one of those things where, I don't know if I have like the motivation per se. It's kind of hard because like you got to like study a lot to, do well in this course. So
even in the practical stuff?
Yeah, even the practical stuff, yeah. So
the studying doesn't end there.
Yeah, it doesn't really end. So I don't know. I'm kind of going through a bit of like a life situation where I'm trying to like figure out what I want to do, and it's always like a tricky situation for everyone,
Yeah,
like,
sure.
A lot of people in RSU have the sort of a bit of a crisis, like should I just continue and spend more years, or
a lot of people?
Should I try? Well, not a lot. I don't know about a lot, but
I feel like a minority in that category.
Probably a minority, but it is like it is a long course. It is a 6-year course and stuff. So it is kind of hard. Yeah, the program. So
yeah.
It is kind of
a lot of people don't understand that, like, when you're studying to become a doctor, it's called an MD, which is its own thing. It's not a master's. It's not a bachelor's.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Do you have that in North America?
Yeah, North America, we normally have to get a bachelor degree, and then you go to like an MD afterwards. But it is a similar degree, like an MD degree. So
but you have to get the bachelor's in North America, right?
Yeah, you have to get a bachelor's.
Yeah.
So it is a bit of a different system, but yeah, it is. I mean, I don't know if it's like the same in Sweden.
Sweden is going to be the same like here in Latvia.
Oh, okay,
like you finish high school, and then you can actually go straight to medicine school to become a doctor, but 6 years.
Interesting. Yeah.
I don't see any problem with that, actually. I don't see why you would have to get a bachelor's first.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. Yeah.
Like, what's the point?
Yeah, I don't know why. It's a very weird thing. They just require more education. It's like people stay in university for a long time in America, like in Canada. It's crazy how much like years of just schooling you have to do before you start working.
Yeah.
It is kind of it's kind of hard for a lot of people, and they accrue a lot of like debt from like students, like tuition fees and stuff. So,
yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of difficult stuff.
So you're saying you're going through a little bit of a small life crisis ish?
Kind of like a bit of an issue, just trying to figure out like what I want to do with my life, and kind of, do I want to continue, do I not want to continue?
I mean, I can tell you this, you're not typical medicine students, which isn't necessarily something bad. Like, being an outsider can be something great, you can kind of embrace that instead.
Possibly, yeah. But it's kind of just trying to like figure things out. And I know one of the hard things for everyone is like trying to figure out like, what do you want to do with your life? I have a friend, there's a guy named Mike Gabler, who's like this guy in America who I talk to him sometimes, and he talks about Kierkegaard's conundrum. Essentially, like, for everyone, you have like infinite possibilities of what you want to do. And then it's kind of hard to like find that one lane like you're gonna like do for the rest of your life. When it comes to employment, it's very hard. Like, that's why a lot of people don't figure out what they want to do until pretty later in life.
Yeah, sure.
And people have regrets.
How old are you now?
Change that. I'm 30 now, so yeah. But yeah, I'm kind of older now and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it is kind of trying to figure things out. And, Yeah. So I don't know.
You. I'm also a little bit older than the average in my courses. But what's Kierkegaard's conundrum?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he just mentioned it to me. He mentioned it to me about a philosopher who talks about. I'm not like, he just mentioned it to me. I don't know like a huge amount about it, but just about infinite possibilities about like just like human angst and frustration, because you have like a million lanes you can go to.
Yeah.
But you only have like a certain amount of life to live, and then it's like trying to figure out what lane you want to go to, what you want to dedicate your life into doing and things. And yeah, I just talk to him sometimes. He's kind of, I don't know if he's like famous per se. He's on like Instagram. He was on like a TV show called Survivor. It's just like a reality show in America. He won like season 43 or something of Survivor.
Really?
His name is Mike Gabler, and I kind of connected with him on Instagram. Then we kind of talked back and forth, and then we exchanged numbers, and then we just like talk on the phone and stuff. He's actually like a heart valve specialist in America. He kind of focuses on heart valves and cardiology.
Like the atrium and the...
that stuff,
what's it called?
Yeah. So ventricles, atrium, and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I do talk to him sometimes about like just like advice and things like that on what to do and stuff.
So he's kind of a semi-celebrity?
Like a mentor, yeah. He's kind of a semi-celebrity, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's kind of like a mentor, and he's someone who kind of helps me, and it's a couple other people as well. But yeah, it's always kind of a tricky thing, just trying to figure out like what to do with your life and trying to find motivation. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because like motivation is always like the hardest thing. So yeah.
I mean, it's a tough question, but what do you think you want in life?
I have no idea. It's like it's all a question mark right now. It's all a big question mark.
What do you think that's happening now that you're 30 and not earlier?
I just think I'm very like indecisive and like not motivated and stuff. So
I mean, you got very far in school, so you got to be somewhat motivated.
Yeah, there's something to it, but I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know. It's a big question mark, and I don't really have like an answer. So
I mean, the way I'm always thinking about these things too, and I'm like almost having at least a monthly life crisis.
Yeah.
And it's like, but one thing is for sure, we kind of need money to do what we want, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. I don't know.
It is expensive. Yeah, you gotta pay for rent and you're not working and just paying for stuff, and you kind of make like an investment in the future, hoping it all pays off and stuff in the future.
I mean, I just feel like you have to find something that you kind of enjoy doing, and then there's a different question: is that something that you can make money off? If that's the case, then that's great, but that's not always the case. So I think you have to start with finding what you like doing, and a great way to do that, if you don't know, is like, do you know who Casey Neistat is?
I think I've heard. Oh yeah. I know him. Yeah.
He actually taught me that lesson, like, because he worked as a dishwasher for I don't know how many years, and he said that working with something that you don't enjoy doing is actually great, because every moment of that time you'll be thinking about what you would rather be doing. Which is so true. Like, because when you're suffering, you're like, oh fuck, I would rather just be doing this instead.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I've heard of Casey Neistat. Yeah, some good advice. It's always like, even like Jordan Peterson is into that as well. Like just giving, it's like self-help sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Giving advice, but yeah, it's all like a big question mark and trying to just like figure out, the future and things like that.
Have you tried Jordan Peterson's future authoring program?
I've heard of it, but I haven't tried it. No.
It's actually for situations just like these. Like you get a more clear vision of the future. Like
right.
maybe you want children, maybe you want wife, and then you define a goal, and then you visualize a path towards that goal. So at least you have something then to aim up to.
Yeah, something to aim up to and stuff. And there's also just like also just an awareness of like what are you capable of as well,
Sure.
Like can I do this? Can I do that? Is this my psychology, my abilities, my IQ, my interests, my passions? Is it all aligned to a certain thing? Because I'm sure a lot of us would like to do all sorts of things, but then it's just like, am I capable of doing it as well? So
yeah,
there's all sorts of different like questions and stuff like that.
But let's get even deeper if you don't mind.
I'm not gonna be too like honest personal stuff, but like in terms of general stuff maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Because
yeah.
Okay, you can pass or answer as you want, but I think a good question to start with is like, what do you think the meaning of life is?
Yeah.
Because that's how you get into the life crisis. You start with something like, this doesn't feel right, and then you're like, okay, so what does feel right? And then you get deeper and deeper and like, okay, what should I be doing? Why should I do anything?
Yeah.
And then you're like, then you get to the biggest question, which is like, what's the meaning of it all?
Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, it's kind of like, I guess 42. I don't know. I don't know what the meaning of life really is.
That's what my last guest said.
Oh, really? Did he say that?
He actually said 42.
Oh, wow. Okay.
From the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I haven't read that book myself, but I should clearly do it at this point. Like, the universe is trying to tell me something.
Yeah, exactly.
God damn it, dude.
We're all trying to tell you something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the meaning of it is. I mean, it seems kind of meaningless, I think, almost. It's, I guess if you're kind of not religious, I mean, if you're religious, then it's like some kind of godly reward or punishment or something. But
you're not.
Yeah, I'm not. So honestly, I think one of the struggles is that life does seem kind of meaningless. It's kind of like nihilism, kind of like there's like a worthlessness. It's just like we all just die and then we just decompose, I guess. I don't know. There is no real worth and stuff. But
why do you get out of bed in the mornings?
Yeah, I don't know. There's no real reason. It's almost like you have to, because you have like a certain role you have to play. So you have to kind of like play a role, I guess. But
well, you don't. You don't actually. You can do anything.
Yeah, you can. It's really just like more the practical aspect of like paying rent and affording stuff. So like you almost have to like work or do stuff for practical reasons.
Yeah.
But in terms of like, is there like an actual like reason to like do all that? Probably not. Like in the long term. Probably not.
I think like when you're feeling like lost and confused, I feel like Jordan Peterson's advice is pretty good. Like, unless you have a very good reason to deviate from the normal, from what the majority is doing, then just do what they're doing. Because the chances are that you aren't that different from most people.
Yeah.
Unless that becomes evident that you have a very, very like special attribute about yourself.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, I do find Peterson to be pretty helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people has like accredited him to helping them get out of like very like their most low points in life. If you read like the YouTube comments on his videos, and you also hear about like the testimonies of people that have come up to him, and he gets like, they tell him his life story or their life story, rather, how they turn their life around and things like that. So
yeah, I think Peterson is almost.
I'm not saying your life is at the low point. I'm just.
I think Peterson is almost like a response to like millennial nihilism.
Yeah.
I think he's almost like a sort of like a therapy, almost like a therapy for the symptom of like cultural millennial nihilism.
Yeah.
And he's almost like a coping mechanism. Like a lot of people are just like reading him almost as copium for like nihilism. But I don't know. It's kind of hard to say, but it is kind of one of those things where, you know, even for me, like, yeah, he's a bit of copium, but, and I do like him a lot, and I do think he's a pretty smart guy. Obviously, he has his detractors on both sides, but yeah, I know like that the guy from Israel, he actually met him personally, like, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he actually was gonna come to Latvia. I don't know if he's
Peterson?
come already. Yeah, Peterson.
He did, yeah. He was here
already.
last fall. I actually went to see him.
Oh, you went to see him?
Yeah.
Okay. Were you able to get like backstage, or just like you just like?
No, I was pretty far away, but it was just the feeling of being in the same room as like a person that you look up to that much, and
interesting.
That was very powerful.
Do you know where it was at? Like where the talk?
Yeah, it was in one of the arenas. I forgot the exact.
Oh, was it Arena Riga?
It was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
Interesting. Was there like how many people were there? Was there like a decent crowd? Or?
Yeah, it was a lot of people. But,
so he actually has fans in Latvia.
Yeah, apparently. Okay. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah,
actually.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, they turned up all of these like conservative people with like conservative clothes and
wow.
like actually well dressed, and English speakers, which isn't very common here, you know.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was weird.
We also like make friends there, like meet, like talk to people, or
I did to talk to a couple people in line.
Because you are pretty friendly to people that like think similarly. Because I remember when we met, you asked me about Peterson, so you are kind of like trying to find like people that are in that sort of zone, and you're kind of friendly towards like
Yeah, but aren't we all looking for people who share points of view?
There's probably it's probably true.
Who can understand us?
Yeah,
everybody wants to be understood, you know.
Yeah, probably true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it must have been cool to like meet people in Latvia that were like what did he talk about in that speech? Was it just like a basic speech, or? Like...
I think it was more or less based on his newer book, the 12 More Rules for Life,
okay,
or maybe the Christian book. I forgot.
Okay. Interesting.
Can't remember exactly, you know.
Was there like was he with anyone or just by himself? Like,
no, he was with Douglas Murray, or what's his name?
Oh, Douglas Murray was there?
Yeah, he was actually
Holy
with
smokes.
him. Yeah.
I didn't know he would be there. He's from the UK. Yeah.
Yeah, he's apparently. I actually never saw him before that, Douglas Murray, but seems like he's pretty famous too.
Yeah, he is pretty famous. Yeah.
Before I forget, I do want to ask you more about like you actually met Mikhaila Peterson.
Oh, that was ages ago. That
don't matter, dog.
That had to do with like she was promoting a diet called the Lion Diet.
Yeah.
Which back in the day I was struggling with food and diet, and was trying to figure out just like the right kind of diet to have. I was really like focused on like health and diet and stuff.
So when was this?
This was probably like 5 years ago. Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not too long ago.
Yeah, it wasn't too long.
That's like 2019.
Actually, no, it was actually before that. I think it was 27. It was actually 2018. I think it was. Yeah. And she was offering Skype consultations.
Really?
Regarding.
And she wasn't famous at that point.
She wasn't that famous. No. Yeah, we were just like talking to her about just diet, and it wasn't just her. It was actually like a couple other people. There was a guy named Sverige, who's you know what that means, Swedish, I think. He's a guy on YouTube. His name is Gottis, but he goes by Sverige, and I talked to him as well. He's like a couple 100,000 subscribers, and I'm on his like WhatsApp group called Unicorn. But yeah, I talked to him as well, where he's into like animal-based diets, but he's pretty extreme. He would like do these videos where he would go into London like eating like an actual like dead animal and stuff. At like vegan festivals, he'd like go into vegan festivals, eating like dead animals, and the vegans would be like freaking out.
Like raw?
Yeah, raw.
Okay, that ain't good though.
That's a bit much, but he would have like a squirrel, and you go to a vegan festival and he would just eat the squirrel in London in Soho, and the vegans would like call the police on him and stuff. And
is it illegal?
I think it probably is. Like he's pretty. I don't know if it's illegal. I mean, I don't know if it is per se.
I'm gonna ask the internet real quick.
But yeah, I talked to him as well and stuff, and he it's just like I was just watching for like entertainment reasons, but I was kind of really into that sort of lifestyle and that sort of diet.
Did you struggle personally with your food?
Yeah, weight. I mean, there's like obesity in my family, diabetes and stuff. So it's Kind of
so you have an
things.
efficient digestive system then.
Pretty much, yeah. So
like evolutionarily, that's really good, you know.
Yeah, evolutionarily is probably good. In our life now, I always I remember one of this person was like, if we were in the wilderness, it's great to be evolutionary is a good thing, but because we live sedentary lives.
Yeah.
And we don't have to do hunter-gatherer stuff. It's probably not a good thing. But probably historically, evolutionarily, it's probably good.
But what was it like talking to Mikhaila?
I don't remember. It was pretty good. It was very vague. It was very just diet related. It was a bit
How long did you talk to her?
Oh, it was just 30 minutes. It was a very kind of thing. And she actually interestingly went to the same school that I went to in Edmonton, the same high school.
Mm-hmm.
But we were kind of different years and stuff. And she was super interested in sort of diets and biology, and
she struggled so much with that.
Yeah, she struggles because she had some issues, autoimmune issues.
Yeah.
That she had to deal with.
Which means that the body attacks itself.
Yeah, pretty much. And she also would do things it's a whole other topic, but yeah, it was kind of cool to talk to her, and she's kind of I know she's got married and stuff. She's kind of doing her own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I know,
but she cured herself.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I think the diet, and she also Jordan Peterson also does the same diet where I think he just eats steaks all day or something like that. It's steak and water. It's
for people who don't know, this is very shocking. Nobody really knows exactly why, but apparently eating just pure meat can kind of solve some of your autoimmune issues, right?
Yeah.
Because she was almost dying.
Yeah, she was almost. Yeah, she was
at some point
almost dying. Yeah.
And both her mom and her dad, Mikhaila's mom and her dad, so Jordan and Tammy, they were very close to dying. And Jordan, I know Jordan's gum disease, bleeding gums, disappeared from eating the meat. So just meat, which is crazy, right?
Yeah, there is something to having a very, even if it isn't just meat, a lot of the problems, if you have digestive issues, if you have if you eat a meal, you don't really know what's causing it because you have so many macromolecules, so many lipids and carbs and things like that, and proteins in a meal. Mm-hmm. It's kind of hard to know what specific thing in a meal is causing your digestive issues. So when you have a very singular diet, just steak or there's actually another diet which a guy named Penn Jillette actually is a part of, it's called the potato diet, where he just eats potatoes all day, which kind of sounds crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But literally 4 weeks of just potatoes, nonstop.
And what happened?
And then apparently it helped him. Apparently reset his system. I don't know. It's weird, but the problem with diet is that it is very almost, I don't know about subjective is the right word, but it is very dependent on each individual.
Yeah.
Because I'm not someone who's just going to say your diet's wrong. It's more what is your digestive system like? And what is good for you? I'm sure a lot of dietitians think that way, where it's you have to you have to kind of change, you have to create a unique diet for an individual based on not just cultural reasons or dietary reasons, whether they have religious reasons for doing things, but their own personal history, their own history with their family, their own biology, and their own digestive situation. You got to tailor a diet for them. And for some reason, veganism, it works for some people. For Peterson, it doesn't work. For some people, it is more of a carnivore diet. For some people, it's a ketogenic diet.
Yeah.
Where they don't eat many carbohydrates.
Although there are some things that are that works for all humans, right? All humans need the essential amino acids, for example.
Yeah.
So
I think there's a threshold, a minimum of what you need.
Yeah.
But there's actually a guy named Mikey Musumeci. He's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy. He literally eats pizza, only pizza, all day.
Is that the Italian guy?
I don't know if he's Italian. He lives in America.
He's young?
Yeah, he's a young guy.
Okay, then I know who it is.
But I think he was on Joe Rogan, actually.
Yeah.
Mikey, but he literally, every day, he just makes a margarita pizza.
Huge one.
From scratch, yeah. And that's all he eats all day, just a margarita pizza every day.
Yeah.
And he's pretty athletic. He's got a six-pack. He's super athletic and stuff, so that kind of works for him, And,
I saw a guy also who only eats mac and cheese.
Oh yeah.
All his life.
Dang.
Yeah,
he had
an emotional. It was something some trauma from his childhood, and mac and cheese was the one thing that made everything feel in order.
Right.
Because he had an abusive father or something, kind of dark actually.
Right.
But he was a super cool guy. Like I recommend people to watch that documentary on YouTube.
I'll check him out. There's actually another guy. There's actually another documentary by a guy from Australia, and he did like a water diet. It was called like Almost Dead. Like he was like almost dying, and then he did a pure like juicing diet where he would just like take a bunch of vegetables, put them in a juicer, and just like drink that for like months and months. And he lost a ton of weight just doing that. And
was that the overweight guy?
Yeah, I think the documentary is called like Nearly Dead or something, or Sick and Nearly Dead. I think he's from Australia, but he literally just did a juicing diet.
Mm-hmm.
There's also another show in America called The Biggest Loser.
Yes.
Where a bunch of like morbidly obese people, they would put them through like intense regimens.
What's morbidly obese actually mean? That they're on the verge of dying?
I think on the verge of dying. I'm sure that there's like a BMI cutoff point, but they have to be like morbidly, like very, very obese. But it was like heavy duty, like personal training and like a very strict diet. And they'd all like lose a ton of weight.
Man, I always find that so funny. I don't know why. Like, I just remember like this doctor being so savage to this fat woman. Like, she's like, I'm so hungry. I need food. And he's like, no, you don't. She's like, I haven't had food. And it's like, you ate all the food in advance that you should have, for the coming month. Like,
there is kind of a like lack of honesty about them. They're like, they don't realize how much they're eating. Like, there's a lot of like people that are struggling. They don't know how much they're eating. They don't realize like. A lot of them are like sort of just like habitual eaters, like they just like munch all day and they don't realize.
But why do they eat more?
It's probably like they're probably like from the brain. They have like an appetite centers in the brain that just I don't even necessarily blame them. I think a lot of obesity isn't like it's like genetic. It's just like because I know like some people want to say it's like lack of willpower, lack of but I think a lot of it's just like people are just like have genetic predisposition to like obesity and things like that. Which is why I think Mikhaila Peterson talked about this on Joe Rogan, where Joe Rogan is very like people are lazy, they don't work out, and I think Mikhaila is more like actually they're kind of victims. They're kind of victims of their biology. They're victims of genetics. They almost can't help themselves, and they don't have the same digestive system. Some people can eat a lot and not get fat. So it's kind of like that.
My last guest actually, Firas, he's from a desert nomad tribe. And they have like extremely efficient digestive systems because they're like through generations they haven't been eating like they maybe ate just once per day or something like that.
Gotcha.
And so he actually had to do like a surgery to like go back to normal weight.
Oh really?
Yeah, because his digestive system was like just not adapt for the modern way of life.
Interesting. So he was like overweight.
He was, yeah.
Then he had like a surgery like morbidly. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, the thing about surgeries is that you always need to. There's like a threshold for surgery, so you need like a certain BMI. So like surgery is always like a kind of like an extreme option. It's only
no, but that was actually a surgery, not like a liposuction, but rather like decreasing the volume of his stomach.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Yeah, so it's different.
Is it maybe like a gastric sleeve or something.
Something like that. Yeah. But just to like reiterate your point that like maybe baseline isn't the same for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, although like definitely discipline and hard work and does play a role, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Because I know people talk about like higher obesity rates with like upcoming generations and things like that, and there is something to that. I mean, it's kind of depressing, and it is. I think like obesity is a bit of an epidemic. I mean, you see a lot of overweight people, and I'm struggling with it as well. So it's kind of a hard thing.
Would you say it's more mental or physical?
I would say it's probably a combination. It's like multifactorial. So there's a mental aspect, there's a physical aspect. There's also a dietary aspect, which is not just like fast foods, the convenience of fast foods, the convenience of like Bolt and Uber foods. Also, just going to a grocery store and just seeing the options you have in a grocery store and how like most foods are very high in corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, hydrogenated oils, preservatives. That's
trans fats.
Yeah, trans fat. That's pretty mainstream in a lot of grocery stores. So you don't even have an option. Like if you want to kind of avoid those chemicals, you kind of have to be really like educated, and you almost have to like rely on like companies. Yourself and companies that are very like different from the mainstream. You almost can't even go to a grocery store because most of the foods there, you can't even trust what's in them.
Yeah, not really, actually.
So it is kind of a hard thing.
Yeah.
And because like one thing that I try to do is I try to look at sort of the labels of foods. So when I buy some, I always kind of look at the back at all the ingredients and try to see like what's in it.
Yeah. It's actually good, you know.
Yeah, because I think kind of having an educated consumer base is probably the best way forward. Because I think like educated consumers are the best. And the problems with the consumers tend to be very non-educated.
Yeah. And
the average person just like eats whatever's in front of them or eats whatever is promoted to them or marketed to them. And
sure.
They don't really know what's in their foods. They just like
some of these Greek yogurts. So you have like regular Greek yogurt, which is good, right?
Yeah.
Then you have just the same Greek yogurt but with mango flavor.
Yeah.
And then it's like 20 grams of sugar per 100 grams.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just because of its being mango.
Yeah, just like mango. Yeah.
And I think sugar is gonna be like the new health thing because fats used to be that.
Yeah.
But it turns out like fat was actually kind of promoted to be the danger by the sugar companies.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to put attention on that instead.
Yeah, I've read about that. It was kind of a very anti-fat. A lot of the cardiologists and they were very anti-fat for a long time.
Yeah.
I think sugar is kind of becoming more of like people are seeing that as the bad thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I just want to make one thing clear though. Like we were talking about Mikhaila Peterson's lion diet earlier, like just eating meat. Like that actually has some scientific proven benefits as opposed to like just eating chicken nuggets or eating mac and cheese or potatoes. I don't know about the potato one, but like eating just meat is something else. It actually has some real benefit and people can look it up themselves.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, I think it's kind of just like how we evolved. I mean, we have to kind of think about our biology and you know, with meats you do have a lot of bioavailable and very complex like necessary nutrients, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas in a lot of other meals, you almost have to like plan it out a bit more because a lot of things that you're kind of missing if you just eat vegetables or things like that. And also a lot of the nutrients in vegetables aren't like available. Our body can't really make use of it necessarily. So it's kind of like how we evolved, but also like different cultures are different diets, you know? Some cultures are very vegetarian. Some cultures are very carby, like Italians, like pasta. And India is very vegetarian and also very oil-based and vegetarian, like fried vegetables and things like that. China's kind of similar to that, but China's like the meat version of India, where it's like instead of fried vegetables, it's fried meats, which I have in China. And then in America, it's a very fast food culture. A lot of like, you know, like Harvey's, McDonald's, KFC, like a lot of that.
Yeah. My mouth is watering as you say.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think Canada's kind of similar to America, where you got like you like I'm a victim of it as well. Like I kind of go to fast food. Like in Canada, we have like I think Roscoe's. I don't know if you have it in Sweden, like Roscoe's.
No.
Do you have like In-N-Out Burger in Sweden?
Nope.
Oh, you don't have that.
No.
You don't even have.
We're deprived.
Okay. Like there's Harvey's, which is pretty good, but.
What about the Christian?
Yeah.
What's it
called Chick-fil-A.
Oh,
yeah, Chick-fil-A,
bro, don't even mention.
Yeah, I know.
It's so good.
It is so very good. Do you have that in Sweden?
No, we don't.
Oh,
we don't.
wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
Although KFC, we do have.
Oh, you have KFC.
Actually, I had to buy today like a 20 pack of spicy chicken wings.
Nice.
KFC.
Is there a KFC near here? Like
there is in Orgo, yeah.
Oh, in Orgo. Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
So good.
Yeah, it is very good. Yeah, I know. It is kind of addicting. I can kind of see. There's a funny South Park episode. I don't know if you watch South Park.
A bit, not too much.
There's a funny episode where Cartman would just like buy like a bucket of chicken.
Yeah.
And he would just eat all the skins because that's the best part. And then he just leave all the meats and just eat all the skins and then it was kind of a funny thing, but yeah.
I don't know though about just eating the skins because it's like it's good with the meat.
I know it is kind of weird to only eat the skins. I don't know why he would do that, but yeah. Yeah, I used to like watch a lot of South Park when I was younger, but I don't really watch like that much TV or movies now. Like, are you like a TV guy, movie guy?
I am. Yeah, I don't know if it's the way I was growing up, but like I always, whenever I eat lunch or dinner, I always put something on.
Put something.
Yeah, because it's like it kind of relaxes my mind and it makes me think about things that aren't like relevant to my daily life, which is stressful. And when I eat extremely slow first of all, and I want to be very, very relaxed.
Right.
And so like looking at something kind of makes me, escapism.
Right.
You escape from your daily life that you.
Do you watch like Swedish stuff, or is it more international? Like.
No, honestly, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm not very connected to Swedish culture at this point because I'm so different. So I would say like I watch a lot of American things.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes me feel good. And
do you watch like old stuff or like new stuff, or is there any specific?
Like I can tell you what I watched recently. Like I watched Love on the Spectrum.
I've heard of it. I've not seen it, but I've heard of it.
It's very like feel good. Okay. And I also watched Love Is Blind. Again, very feel good. I'm always ashamed to admit it, but it's like you see other people being happy, and it kind of makes you feel happy also.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
That's kind of it. I mean,
I'm trying to think. I mean, I wanted to see like Dune 2. I've heard it's good.
I saw it.
Oh, you've seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't spoil it. I haven't seen it, so I'll check it out probably.
I mean, it's fine. I never really get the point of it.
Yeah.
Even the first one.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. I don't know why people are so into it. I know I think Frank Herbert wrote that book, but yeah, it is kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, my brother told me that apparently Dune, some people say that it's the best sci-fi universe ever, which doesn't make sense at all to me, but that is, some people have said that.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing.
Yeah.
And they've been occasionally trying to like make a movie out of it, and apparently this last one with Villeneuve, apparently that's a good movie. The acting is pretty good, but I'm trying to think. I always like forget whenever I watch something. I always like I always forget that I watched it. Like I know I've seen Oppenheimer, and I saw the Barbie movie. And that's the last theater movies I've seen. But yeah, in terms of
which one was better?
I don't know. I think they were both kind of okay. I mean,
really,
probably Oppenheimer was probably better, but because Barbie
it wasn't that good though. It could have been better.
Yeah. I think they're both probably overrated. I think Oppenheimer is probably better, but like Barbie was more ideological. Like it was a very progressive movie. Like, it was very like feminist and kind of that sort of thing.
I've heard different things about that. I haven't seen myself, but a female friend of mine said that it actually wasn't very feminist. That that it was rather portraying the feminine side, like the difference between men and women. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess you could say that as well.
I would want to hear you debate.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I mean, I don't know, like I have super strong opinions about it, but it is like I know Greta Gerwig. I mean, there were like entire speeches about complaining about like women's role in the world and how hard it is to be a woman. So it's kind of hard to like deny that it's a feminist movie when literally you have like speeches about female struggle and stuff in the West and stuff. So but I do think it's a funny movie. I'm not one of those people that cannot enjoy like a movie that's like doesn't like it's more progressive. I'm very like equal. I think as long as it's a good movie, I don't even care about the politics of the movie.
As long as it's interesting.
Yeah, as long as it's interesting. Like even if you're left wing, like be good at being left wing. Like be funny, be interesting. If you're boring, like I don't like you either way. If you're right or left, like be interesting, be funny. Because the movie was actually pretty well made. There was a lot of like Wizard of Oz references, like a lot of the cinematography and the set design was really good. The music was pretty good as well. So I could enjoy that movie even though it was like more like clearly progressive kind of movie. And then even Oppenheimer was a bit of a weird movie as well, because I think Michael Knowles talked about how Oppenheimer was like a full-on communist, which the movie doesn't even talk about. The movie kind of has well, that's what Michael Knowles said. And and I watched a documentary which talks about it, that he was a communist, which a lot of people that were in America during that time period were into that. He was actually like a Jewish American, and he was very motivated by kind of the Nazi, he was very anti-Nazi and the anti-Semitic nature of Nazism and stuff. And he was like a communist, I believe. And
although it did say a little bit about that in the movie, not too much.
Michael Knowles' point was that he was more of a communist than the movie led to believe. It wasn't like the movie never mentioned it.
It says like this: he had complex political affiliations and was scrutinized for his associations with Communist Party USA members and activities. during the 1930s and 40s, when communism was seen by many as a legitimate political stance against fascism, Oppenheimer was involved in several left-wing groups and had associations with the Communist Party members. Okay, yeah. I mean, this is ChatGPT, so it's gonna be a little bit left-wing.
Yeah, I mean, they're taking, they always like make it into like, oh, it's complex. His views are complex. I mean, maybe it were, but I'm sure everyone's views are complex. I mean, it's just one of those things where I think they're kind of, you know, but I will say that movie had a more sympathetic view of Oppenheimer. That being said, you know, I mean, it's kind of like everyone's like nuanced. Everyone, you know, there's good and bad in everyone, I guess. So.
Yeah.
But I do think Christopher Nolan is like a really good director, and he's probably the best director like in the world, I would say. Like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to like choose other people.
But can I grill you just a little bit more about like Mikhaila? How it was?
Okay, yeah.
I kind of have I don't know if I wouldn't say I have a crush on her, but I was definitely I would be starstruck if I met her. Like, so what was it like?
It's a very short thing, and it happened a while ago, but it was very just dietary. It wasn't like anything more than
right. Like,
diet.
so it was no personal.
Nothing. It was very professional and dietary. I will say Mikhaila does have. I think she was like. Didn't you get married or something? I think her husband.
Yes, I think so. Like from a guy from the UK, I think.
Yeah, no, I think he was American. He's like super tall guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something
but
that.
Like, so you never met her in real life?
No, I never met her. No.
Just had an internet consultation.
Pretty much, but she did go to the same school as I did. But I never met her when she went to school. She went to she went to high school in Edmonton.
Okay.
And I could have maybe met her, but I never met her during that time period because it was like a big school.
Mm-hmm.
So I never really knew her that time. But yeah, I know she has a brother.
Julian.
Yeah.
So, but you strictly talked about diet with her.
Purely diet, and it's very short.
Is that an American thing? Like, just keep it professional, or
not?
Yeah,
it's very professional. I don't know why.
Would it be weird if it went private?
Yeah, I think it would be kind of awkward. It's an awkward thing, and also I was very much just interested in diet. I'm gonna. You know what I mean? Maybe if you talked to her, it would have been better.
Well, like, what can you possibly say about eating meat for 30 minutes?
Yeah, it was pretty much like giving your life history and your struggles with eating and just like your body, because I do have digestive issues and I do have issues like health issues.
IBS or something?
Yeah, kind of stuff like that. Yeah. And then just like, because I do have, I don't want to get too personal, but I do have similar medical issues.
Oh, okay.
Now I remember. I do have similar medical issues than her. That's why. And then because, so that's why I was like talking about it.
I see.
But yeah, and...
was she nice?
Oh, yeah. She was super cool and stuff.
What'd she look like back then?
Yeah, it was kind of similar to now. I think she was like, I think she looks a bit, no, it was different.
Brunette?
Yeah. I think she like dyes her hair. I don't think she's like a natural blonde. I think she dyes her hair or something. But yeah, and then she was pretty cool. And then I don't know, like I haven't really kept in touch with her or anything. I just like separated and
sure.
I do follow her on Instagram though, and I do like occasionally like see her on Instagram and stuff. But I think I'm more interested in her dad.
What do you think you would say to? Have you ever had the thought like if you met Jordan Peterson like face to face and you had like couple of minutes to speak to him, what do you think he would say?
I don't know, probably
so difficult, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of one thing I would say, but yeah, I don't know. I can't think of one thing. I'll probably just like try to like just try to like make short talk, like just like talk about basic stuff, like because he did grow up in Alberta, like similar to me, so I'll probably talk to him about Alberta and Canada and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's kind of hard to like pinpoint one specific thing. Like, what about you? Like, what would you tell him?
I don't know, man. It's been such a big influence on me, and I get so starstruck around these people. They're like gods to me. These people that I look up to, even though they clearly aren't perfect. Just like it's so emotionally loaded because like they've been there at your lowest points, and they taught you great lessons, and you have so much respect. I don't know, man. Whatever I would say, I would probably be disappointed with myself, like afterwards.
You just regret, like, why did I say this? And you kind of feel bad afterwards and things like that.
Yeah, and I would probably like embarrass myself, like, You could
have gone backstage. I mean, maybe they're too expensive, but like when it came to Riga, I don't know if they have like backstage passes. I mean, it was kind of pricey, but I don't know if that was an option in Riga. Like sometimes after the show, like he meets people and stuff. I don't know if that was an option,
But dude, I do want to say one thing. I really appreciated our talk about like nationalism and where it comes from and all of that.
Yeah.
Because you actually taught me. I don't know if you taught me directly or just a conversation, the exchange of ideas between us. But it really like gave me a huge insight into like what nationalism is and like where it comes from and.
Oh, right, yeah.
I think I'm actually gonna do a video about that at some point in itself, like what it is.
Yeah, you should do that.
Yeah.
Because it is a complicated topic and it is one of those very complex things and it is a very kind of hot button issue. It's a word that has a lot of baggage to it.
Sure.
And it just gets used in positive and negative ways and things and it means different things in different countries.
Yes.
So it is one of those things. I know I would like share, I would send you a bunch of like clips on WhatsApp and stuff. It's kind of funny. Yeah, I don't know why, but like all this stuff that I would watch and because I do watch a lot of podcasts, which I actually do prefer because it's like long form conversation.
Prefer over short videos?
Yeah, because podcasts is like, you can kind of like really delve into ideas in podcasts. The problem with like the news is that it's very edited down and it's very ideological.
Sure.
And it's very fake, the news, and it's very just like these like clickbaity things and podcasts you could really like get into the meat of stuff, So it's a lot better.
Can I read you one of the tweets that I put out recently about nationalism? It's a common misconception in the West especially that nationalism is something bad. Nationalism belongs to the most beautiful things about being a human, the sense of belonging to a group of people that you share things in common with and love. As extremely social animals, humans love groups and belonging, whether it's you and your partner, you and your best friend, your family, your football team. It gives us identity, meaning, and so many joyful things. Every group, by definition, has certain requirements of belonging, that is, things that members share and have in common. If the individual does not share those things and meet those requirements, he is not welcome in the group. If he was welcomed without having things in common, or conforming or sharing values, that would undermine the existence and definition of the group. For example, if cows were to be part of the humanity group, it would lose its definition and stop existing. The same goes for the group of women or men. Groups are inevitable and built into our DNA. We live longer with them and die faster without them. Just because you belong to a group doesn't mean you hate another group. Quite the opposite.
Yeah. Oh, is that was on X?
Yes.
That? Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
I have these thoughts sometimes, and I.
Yeah. It's good to just like put your thoughts out and.
Like put a pin in it,
Pretty much.
Summarize your ideas and move on. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, I would probably I'd probably agree with a lot of that. I think there is something to that, sort of like community and stuff like that, and kinship and things.
I can continue. There's a second passage.
Yeah.
As if the beauty of belonging is not enough, just imagine being forced to live or be friends with someone who doesn't share your values or even understands you. If humans have a choice, we naturally maximize interactions with people who we share things in common with and minimize interaction with people we disagree with a lot. Again, diversity is great, but diversity inside a group is a paradox. In order to belong to the same group, you have to share something, like literally anything. That's kind of what we talked about. Yeah,
I would say so. And you're kind of maybe like describing like an ideological version of that, where it's like more like people you agree with, similar values and things like that. And I can kind of see that. And there's an element of almost like you get like, it kind of makes you happy. It kind of improves your mental health if you can find people, like a community that you can do. And it's true for everyone. And it's not like hating other people. It's more like kind of you have more of a respect for other people. It's kind of like a healthy nationalism, I guess. And just like with everything, there's all like pros and cons to everything. And just there are ways in which it can go bad. There are ways in which it can go good. And I'll probably agree with a lot of that, I
mean, but you can make it really simple. Like, we're animals. We're extremely social animals. We need groups.
Yeah.
We need like community. If we're isolated, we literally die faster.
Mm-hmm.
And like the worst thing that you can do to a human is put him in solitary confinement. Like that's worse than being in prison, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's just the basics of the game, right?
Yeah, I think I would say so. Because even in like prisons, you do have like a sort of community that kind of naturally forms. And the funny thing about the prison population is because they almost become like hyper nationalistic in a prison situation.
Right.
It's almost like they're overcompensating for solitary confinement. I mean, it's just like a theory, like because they're in solitary confinement, so they're almost like overcompensating. Like let's go super. Because whenever you go to a prison, it's like full on nationalism. It's
Sure.
Like, it's like you got like white power groups, you got black nationalist groups,
Mexicans.
you got like Mexican groups, yeah. So it's almost like a compensation to the extremes of solitary confinement and isolation, which is kind of, very torturous for a lot of people, just being isolated.
Although we do see that in our university too. You mentioned that earlier. Like,
yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it just happened in the university as well, where you kind of, people do try to form groups and people kind of allocate themselves on different grounds. So there's the male-female dynamic.
Sure.
There's the ideological dynamic. There's the ethnic dynamic, and there's the national dynamic.
Yeah, that was what was so interesting to me. Like this thing in particular about our conversation is that like groups are something that we mostly make up in our minds, and so you have like tens and maybe hundreds or thousands of groups that you can see yourself within just based on different frameworks of thinking. So like it could be you and your best friend, or it could be you and your partner, or your soccer team, or your religion, or your race, or your gender. And it's like there's these different sizes of these groups, and sometimes they overlap.
Yeah.
A lot of time they overlap actually.
Yeah.
So you have like you and your best friend are probably in the same bigger friend group too, and maybe maybe your neighbors too, and you go to the same church, and it's like circles within circles, if that makes sense.
Pretty much. Yeah, you'd have circles within circles and things like that, and we all kind of like allocate our identity based on like which groups we're in, and they're so multifactorial. There's so many different possibility groups you can have, and they do overlap all the time. And
that's just based on ideas.
Yeah,
that's the crazy thing about it. It's groups are all in our minds, right?
Yeah. It's all in our minds, but that doesn't mean it isn't important. It just means that it's something that we find as a certain comfort. It's almost like a comfort in,
Yeah.
And when you have a society where everybody's like a pure individual, those societies tend to be very kind of problematic. I mean, I know a lot of Western societies are going in that direction where people are just like almost hyper individualistic, where they don't really have any sort of group that they're in, and they're trying to find, like group identifiers. Like for example, LGBT is like a group identifier.
Sure.
It's sort of like, it's like a new version of group identity, which, does work for some people. I mean, the problem with those kinds of identities is that it probably won't be. I don't think it'll last for long. It seems very superficial. It's like, oh, we like to have sex with like the same kind of person. Like we're all like, that's how we're identifying ourselves. But and also I think just like people that are so-called queer in general, there is a sort of group thing aspect to that as well. Like there's a kinship that they're almost like trying to like find a sort of identity because they feel maybe lost themselves, and they feel that identity kind of gives them some meaning, some purpose to life. I think purpose is like one of the things that we're all kind of striving for, like a reason for living, a reason for doing things. Maybe with loss of religion, there's like nihilism and meaninglessness, and then almost like group identity is like a copium for that sort of nihilism. Like, okay, now I'm fighting for something, whether it's ideology or like
better future,
better future stuff, and trying to that sort of stuff.
For your children.
And it is a very powerful thing, and I don't think that'll ever go away. It's probably there'll always be like every society will have like the nihilists that have sort of just given up, and then the sort of the old school religious people, and then the sort of like copium like ideological people that are like into LGBT or into some sort of ism, like whether it's like conservatism or liberalism or
Islamism.
something. Yeah, stuff like that. And they're going to try to like promote their ideology and stuff like that. So yeah. It's a very big topic, but it is kind of one of those things. And Canada is always like an interesting thing because in Toronto, you have a lot of like LGBT flags, and they're kind of like, it's kind of like the main flag now. It's kind of everywhere now. And when you go to the city,
the main group almost.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird kind of group because a lot of the sports teams are also kind of promoting it as well. And I think there's an element of like, there's an element of like virtue signaling, obviously. There's an element of copium, like nihilistic copium. And there's also an element of sort of like meaning and purpose, like want to have
fear.
Meaning. Yeah, and then there's
fear
also
of being
fear.
left out and being excluded.
Yeah. There's also the fear aspect of it as well, and also just the feeling of progression. Like this is like the new ideology of just progressivism. Like we're always moving towards a positive thing. Like back in the day, it was bad. Now we're getting just more rights, more equality. So that's like an ideology.
Right. They assume
they kind of assume,
we're getting it more right.
Yeah.
As time goes.
They have like an assumption that things always get better, and they don't really know like about just fall of empire. Like a lot of civilizations like collapse. There are lots of examples like fall of Rome where civilizations do collapse, and there is a degradation. Like that's possible. Decline is possible, but they have like an ideology like, oh, things are only going to get better. It's 2026 is going to be better than 2024, and 2031 is going to be,
It's like, even if you prove to them that things are getting worse, I don't think they would have the self-insight to see that their ideas are responsible for things getting worse.
Yeah.
They'll be like, oh, things are just getting worse for no reason and doesn't have anything to do with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I don't think they would be able to have the insights, like the self-distance to be able to understand that.
It's like they don't have self-awareness, like an awareness of like the downsides. And a lot of them are not even aware of like negative stuff, pretty much. I mean, there's a lot of negative stuff, but I think they kind of live in like maybe like a bubble, like where they're not really aware of like like a lot of like mental health, for example. Not just obesity, but mental health is like a huge issue now in society.
It is.
Suicidality, depression, anxiety, a lot of stuff like that, a lot of, it's almost like a silent epidemic where people don't really talk about it. And if people do talk about it, they talk about it in very like superficial ways, like, oh, let's just like have like a hotline for anti-suicide hotline or something. But it's actually,
they don't really understand the
they understand.
issue.
Yeah, it's actually really deep. Like you're not even gonna like help people just by that. It's not like you're just gonna talk them out of it. Like people genuinely feel like hopeless, like with no purpose and with no need to like continue living. Like even like in my Instagram, there's like a lot of groups that I'm in. A lot of like, because I mean on my Instagram I'm very, I don't show my face or my name on Instagram because I don't trust social media companies, and I've had bad experiences before.
Really?
But I'm on like Discord chats. A lot of people are like incels, like inkwells, they call themselves. A lot of people are like black pilled. A lot of people are sort of like into like a lot of young men. They kind of can't like, they can't really progress in life. And I'm kind of like a part of that a bit as well, where like, and there's a lot of people that I'm in Discord groups with. I have Discord groups, like yesterday I had we have VCs, which are voice chats, where we have like maybe like 20, 30 people just talk from all over the world.
Is that where you post on Instagram?
Yeah, that's what I post. And I'm also a very sarcastic and humorous person, because Instagram's very trolly and goofy. Like I put silly memes and silly kind of pictures and stuff. So there's an element of like sarcasm and kind of humor, and kind of like the Joker from the Joker movie. Like it's almost like life isn't a tragedy; it's a comedy. You just have to laugh at it because it's so tragic that you have to laugh. I kind of have that mindset. It's like a black pill mindset.
What's the black pill? Is that the red pill on steroids?
Yeah, the black pill is pretty much like the black pill is that things are hopeless, that society is inherently hopeless, that we are going to die, and like we're all gonna die. There's gonna be a heat death of the universe. We're gonna decompose after we die, and we're gonna be forgotten. We're gonna die, and then we're gonna be forgotten. Like it's not gonna be meaningless.
Awesome.
Unless you maybe have kids, but then even if you have kids, do you even remember who your great great grandparents is? Like, who is he? What's his name? Like, you're gonna be forgotten unless you have kids. Maybe then you have some kind of thing. And then the black pill belief is that religion is copium. It is a coping mechanism for inevitable death. So almost like religion is a very intricate ideology that we've constructed because we fear death. We're so terrified of it that we've come up with all sorts of very intricate ideas in order to make ourselves feel good about the inevitable death. And
like a complex answer to a very simple statement.
It's a very complex answer, and I think it's kind of one of those things where
religion is a complex thing.
Yeah, religion is a complex thing
wrapped around something very simple, which is death.
And essentially the complexity of religion is kind of a symptom of the demographics of the society. So everyone has some kind of religion. You go to Africa, they have their own like really weird like tribal stuff, like tribal religions, and then you have all these other religions, and it's all kind of based in like superstition and fear of death, and kind of like a horror, kind of like a fear of inevitability of death, I guess. And it doesn't make inherent sense when you think of religion, because it's like, okay, you're not all right. Like, you got billions of Hindus, billions of Muslims, billions of Christians, so you're all gonna go to have rewards, even though you all can contradict each other. How does that even work? I mean, it kind of doesn't make sense. It's like either you can't like believe in like Krishna and Muhammad and Jesus and all the other religions, and then even the religions that don't exist anymore, it wasn't like you figured it out. It's like they just died. Like, you just won a war and they just died off or something. It wasn't like we figured out the right one, or maybe you just like killed the other people in a war and that's why you survived or something like that. I don't know. I
feel like Ricky Gervais makes kind of a similar point.
Yeah. Ricky Gervais makes that, yeah. And it's kind of like so goofy, and it's I don't know. There's an element of it's so weird, because I mean, like, either reincarnation is right or it isn't. It's not like all the Hindus are going to reincarnate and all the Christians are not, and then all the, it's like,
it's only if you believe.
Only if you believe in that specific thing.
It's very convenient, for an organization that wants to recruit members.
Yeah, exactly, and it is really, really weird. So there is an inherent, like, I know Richard Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens and Ricky Gervais. Like, even to be honest with you, most academics are like non-religious. I mean, it depends on which field you go to, obviously, because you do have obviously intelligent religious people, but like, just there's an inherent like kind of weirdness to religion, which it's almost like if I do like believe in religion, it would be as a coping mechanism because I know I'm going to die.
Yeah, do you know who Andrew Klavan is?
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah, he's from the Daily Wire. He actually said something that made me think about religion. Like, apparently, like, when he was younger and discovering religion, he didn't want to commit to it because he was like in a low point of his life. Mm-hmm. And so, like, he didn't want religion to be his crutch. So he kind of stayed away from it until he was in a better point at his life, and then he went to religion. Yeah, so you kind of try to reach it from an intellectual perspective as opposed to like an emotional one. Because I can see where it's coming from. There's an element of religion where it's like, oh, I'm just so sad. Yeah. I need to believe. Right, I feel so hopeless, I have to pray to something because I can't help myself or something like that. Yeah, versus like a more like intellectual, logic-based version of religion where it's like, okay, well, the religion is true because it makes logical sense for it to be true. So I can understand that. There's always the separation between deism and theism, where I can understand the logic for God, but then when you make that leap to religion, where it's like, not only is there a God, but Jesus died, he died on a cross, he died for all our sins. Even that, how do you die for everyone's sins? Like, because I'm trying to think of like the utmost suffering. I can't die for everyone's sins. Even like it doesn't make any logical sense how that's even doable. And also, like, whether it's like, Islam or it's Christianity, like, you have to also believe, in order for you to be a Christian or a Muslim, that like Muhammad is God, right? God, yeah, exactly. And that Jesus is God, right?
Yeah, he's like, I think, a prophet or something. He's some kind of holy figure in Islam.
At least with Jesus, you're supposed to believe that he is the Son of God.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you're not Christian.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like,
and it's kind of like even in Hinduism, they have like polytheism, and they have many kind of stories and
but
stuff like that.
What I've been dealing with religion is like, if I was actually very happy, why would I make the effort to go to these things that I don't like 100% understand or doesn't make 100% logical sense? Like, because with me, I'm like, I just want to be happy, and if I'm happy, then why would I make the move to go to these institutions?
Yeah, if you don't need it. I mean, a lot of
like, why would you compromise if you don't have to? That's all I'm saying.
Pretty much, yeah. Though we don't need to compromise. I mean, if you're in a good place, like, like, for example, let's say you and your friend, or you and your family wants KFC and you want Pizza Hut. It's like, oh, okay, we have to compromise and take something in between. Why would you do that if you can have your Pizza Hut? Like, pretty much, yeah. And I think like, I mean that's your situation. I mean, a lot of people aren't in that situation where they can, where they're happy or they're
I'm not though. I wouldn't say like I'm completely happy, but like, but if I were, hypothetically speaking, why would you want to compromise on your standards? If you don't have to. Like, let's say you have a wife, you have children, you have an awesome friend group, you have sports, you have a good job, you feel great, you have a puppy. Why would you?
So you almost don't need like a religion type thing.
That's what that's the argument that I'm making. I'm not sure that's real, but hypothetically speaking.
Yeah, I would say my criticism of that is that all those things you've mentioned, they are kind of superficial. Like, your wife is going to die, your kids are going to move out, your dog's going to die. Like, it's like a superficial thing. So it's one of those things.
Way to ruin the party, dog.
Yeah, exactly. So there's an element of religion that is very like eternal, like it's like true happiness versus a sort of material happiness. There was like the worst kind of happiness, which is literally like, I'm going to just like drink a Coke and get that sugar high, so I'm happy for like a short time. Then there's like the intermediate happiness of maybe like, I got a good job, or I have a wife, I have kids. And then maybe religion kind of like speaks to that extreme happiness, which is like more of a long-term thing. Like an eternal
tranquility.
Happiness. Yeah, like tranquility and eternal happiness. Something that's sort of long-lasting. And then I think nihilism is the opposite of that religion, which is that there is no eternal happiness. There's just eternal death and meaninglessness.
And that's stabilizing in some way too.
It's not inherently stabilizing, but it could be stabilizing. Like, it's
because it's something that you can like relate to.
Yeah, something you can relate to. It's sort of one of those things where it's sort of like going back to the black pill, where you accept hopelessness and you accept an eternal sort of hopelessness. You can find happiness in the black pill. There's actually a famous saying by a guy I know who's on YouTube. He's like a bunch of subscribers. He always says, "Let the black pill set you free," which is essentially, the black pill is depressing, it's hopeless, but you can find happiness in the black pill. It's doable, because it's true for everyone, and it means like don't stress out too much, because it's kind of fundamentally meaningless.
Yeah.
And it is kind of a hard thing, but yeah, I mean, the thing about the like people that think this way is that there's literally probably millions and millions and millions of men around the world that feel this way, but they don't get much attention in the media. Sure. Like, there's like most people are like so-called blue-pilled, which they believe in kind of just like societal norms. Yeah. Like they think in terms of slogans. And then the red pill is more like, okay, things suck, but I'm going to just work really hard, and I'm going to just like go to the gym. I'm going to study really hard. I'm going to kind of do that thing. And the black pill is more like, well, actually, your success in life is based on inherent things. So, for example, your IQ, which is like an immutable characteristic, where you're kind of limited by your IQ. Where you're limited by, when it comes to dating, you're limited by your height, or your race, or your body type, which is kind of inherent. Like, your characteristic, how many likes you'll get on Tinder is based on inherent immutable characteristics. How tall are you? Are you 5'6" or are you 6'4"? So that sort of thing.
So you're resigning your responsibility?
Yeah, there's an element of, I mean, talking about from the black pill perspective. Yeah. there's an element of I'm resigning, and I'm just kind of trying to find some happiness in the black pill. And the red pill is more like I'm going to go to the gym, and I'm going to just like work hard, and I'm going to just try to like, do positive things. So
I feel like that's a better mindset to have.
Yeah, it's probably a better mindset to have. Yeah.
But you can, because if you, I thought about this the other day. Like, if you believe that you can't affect things, then that means you also won't take responsibility for them.
Yeah.
So if you believe that you have no control over something, whether it's your health or I don't know what, the world, then you're not going to take any responsibility for it. Yeah. Because it wouldn't matter if you can't.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
So it's a like believing that you have control is a prerequisite of taking responsibility.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say I can see that as well. The thing about it is that a lot of people that are black pilled, they're black pilled based on experience. So they've sort of been through like your way of thinking. So they're guys that are like maybe older.
Yeah.
That have kind of been beaten down by their life history.
They're trying.
Yeah, they're trying, and they don't
smacked in the face.
Pretty much, yeah.
Fell all the way down. And tried again.
Yeah.
And get another smack.
Yeah, pretty much like I know this guy. I think he talks about like I go to the gym and then it's like I don't know. It's like meaningless going to the gym.
It's like life of a doomer, right?
Yeah, doomer. It's like doomer pilled. It's like life of a doomer.
Have you seen that short YouTube video?
I might have. The doomer baby.
It's so good. So good.
I might have seen it. I might have seen it. It is kind of depressing how much of your life is seemingly immutable, man. Like, I don't know. It's kind of hard. It's like, I don't know. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard for people to understand. I think a degree of empathy is like understanding people. But like, if I see somebody who I saw recently, I saw in Latvia, I saw a guy that he had like he had dwarfism. And I think he was like maybe like 4 feet tall, or I think it was like 3 feet tall or something.
How many centimeters?
I don't even know what
I'll look it up.
Centimeters. I have no idea. I think in terms of feet and inches.
Okay, 4 feet, you said?
Yeah, 4 feet. Then
That's
it's like
120 centimeters.
Then it's like, I mean, to say that guy doesn't live an objectively difficult life is insane, and that life is based on immutable characteristics that he was given at birth. That doesn't mean that he can find happiness or he can live a good life, but it's like to pretend like that guy isn't struggling is insane. You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
And that guy has serious limitations on what he can accomplish. And I know there was a guy named there's a guy named Vern Troyer who committed suicide. He was a person who had dwarfism who committed suicide about 4 or 5 years ago. There's also a guy named Oreo Man who committed suicide. It's a YouTube guy. There's also a guy named there's a bunch of guys who are on YouTube who are vloggers, who are doomer vloggers, who've kind of killed themselves and things like that. It is like an epidemic, like young men, and it kind of goes back to Jordan Peterson, where I saw that Jordan Peterson video where he was at Liberty University and this guy like cried, like this guy like ran up to the stage and sort of just like collapsed and started crying.
Yeah.
I think there is a sort of doomer, like millennial and zoomer doomer sort of mindset where people feel hopeless, and Jordan Peterson is almost like an antidote to hopelessness and stuff. And
like
and stuff.
80% of suicides for 18 to 24 are men.
Yeah.
You don't hear about that, actually.
Yeah, you don't hear about that. I remember
like 80.
Yeah, I know. It is kind of depressing because you don't hear about men committing suicide. It's always like women and young girls and stuff. Not to say that isn't an issue. I'm not like into like the sexism stuff. Like I care about women and men equally. Sure. So if a woman commits suicide, I'm sad about that. There's actually Zack Snyder on Joe Rogan, who I think I told you about. His daughter committed suicide. His daughter was like 18 years old and drug overdosed herself, and that's really sad as well. That's tragic. I don't want anyone to do that. And also people commit suicide for all sorts of different reasons and stuff. But I think mental health is a serious issue, but it isn't like a one size fits all. We're all in our different like lanes and avenues, and like Vern Troyer commits suicide for one reason, and Zack Snyder's daughter does it for another reason, and they all have some kind of mental kind of angst and issue. A lot of them are kind of maybe doomer for different reasons. So, for example, people that are so-called inkwells or incels, they're men who can't get a girlfriend, they can't get a wife. Yeah. And they do it for either they're not making enough money, they're too short, they're too ugly, they don't have the confidence, they're overweight, something like that.
Too anxious,
too anxiety. I know a guy named Ado who I talked to, who, you know, he's like super into what they call surgery maxing, where they get like nose jobs, plastic surgeries.
For men?
Yeah, for men.
Mm-hmm.
They try to improve their physical appearance to make them more desirable for women. And he's probably spent like lots of money going to like Turkey, getting hair transplants in Turkey. He went to Korea, got some plastic surgery there, trying to improve his physical appearance, because he'd always get rejected by women and he wouldn't get any likes on Tinder. Women would always reject him and stuff like that. He had like low confidence and stuff.
Damn, people are not well these days.
Yeah, it's kind of a.
We're doing something wrong, you know.
Yeah.
I read a quote the other day, like we're people with happy pictures but like sad lives. You know, a generation of happy pictures and sad realities.
Pretty much, and I have a friend called Face who. Shout out to Face. He's popular on YouTube. He's a friend of mine from the UK, and he always talks about what he calls rope feel, which is pretty much roping. It pretty much means suicide. It's just like strangling yourself. It's called roping, and rope feel is pretty much like you have certain things that happen which kind of fuels your desire to commit suicide. So he kind of talks about just like not being able to make enough money, or just going outside and just getting rejected all the time. Or he lives in, I don't want to dox him, but he lives in the UK, somewhere in the UK, and he always tells me about rope feel, and he's gonna rope himself at some point, and he tells me how he's gonna rope himself, like, and stuff like that. So there's a lot of like depressed stuff. And I also have a friend named Duke from the UK. He works as a janitor. He's a janitor in the UK. He works at an elementary school. He just cleans toilets for a living. He's like 24 years old, and he talks about like how depressing his life. He just works as a janitor, and then he plays League of Legends. He goes home and plays League of Legends, and then he does like VCs on Discord and stuff. And he talks about how hard it is to be a man, and how women are like, he's a bit like, he's kind of like very black-pilled. He's a bit like sexist, and I'm not really into that, but he talks about like, I think I shared it on my Instagram, like he always like go on rants about like he can't get a promotion, he just cleans shit all day, he just flushes toilets, and he just like cleans tampons and flushes toilets and like wipes floors all day, and he gets paid minimum wage, like he's like bare minimum wage. And
let me guess, nothing is his fault.
Yeah, nothing is his fault pretty much. And he's like he's actually like an Asian guy, and they talk about just like he's like a total like virgin incel, like can't get a date. The only possibility is called escort maxing, where you save enough money to get like a prostitute or something, and that's how you like that's the only hope.
The only sex.
The only sex you can get is with prostitutes. And my other friend, Rabbi, he's like a Jewish guy, lives in California, works for Uber. He got fired from Uber, long story, but he's an escort maxer, where he works for Uber and he just saves money on escorts, and he just like
that's all he does.
That's all he does. All he does is money. He lives in a really cheap apartment and just spends on escorts all day, pretty much.
So he's like a sex addict, actually.
Yeah, pretty much a sex addict, and he's obsessed with escorts. Like he would always have his main escort would be a girl from Syria. A girl from Syria who migrated to the U.S. who's a pharmacy student who does some escorting on the side, but she'd go to pharmacy school, and then I think UC Berkeley, and then she'd escort on the side, and then he would pay her like maybe like pretty expensive, like maybe like $1,000 a sesh.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's a lot.
It's a lot of money. Yeah. But he makes good money though through Uber. He does like a lot of Uber drives and stuff.
Dude, that's like a month's salary.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. I know. But he's a unique situation. He's obsessed with escorts, and the Syrian girl, her dad like lives in Syria, has no idea what she's doing for a living. No idea her daughter's an escort. Yeah, wow, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, trying to control virginity, so it's gonna be something difficult.
It is kind of crazy, man. But yeah, I got all these crazy stories about like all these people in that VC. We talk to each other every Friday, talking about all sorts of crazy stuff, all sorts of crazy characters, man. Like
that's kind of nice, you know, like hearing something crazy for once. Like, so let's be honest, medicine students are the fucking worst.
Yeah,
they're so boring.
Yeah. They're really boring. Yeah.
and so scared and narrow-minded.
Yeah.
I will honestly say I hate medicine students.
Yeah, I can see that. I actually prefer nursing students because there is because I remember in medicine they're very like single-minded and they're kind of boring. There's almost like a boring nature to medicine. If you talk to like a philosophy student, they're kind of cool and interesting. Even like other students are kind of interesting, but medical students, I think a part of it is that you have to be very like compliant and just like study all day and just like be very like single-minded.
Compliant is the word.
Yeah, compliant. So
conformative.
Yeah, conformative and stuff. But
really distinguishing feature of medicine students is that they don't stick their head out. They don't stick out of the group.
Yeah, there is an element of that.
It's like the good students, the good, all of the distillation of the good students from all of the different high schools. The ones who are like very, listening to the teacher and all of that. Pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's depressing whenever you talk to these medical students. It is kind of, I don't like it. That's why I'm not very social. Most of my friends are either Discord chats or pub crawls in Canada and the UK with those groups that I'm in. Like, those are my two main groups that I socialize with. In terms of like in Latvia, I'm very isolated and I don't really talk to too many people.
Same. I mean, I actually try not to make friends in university for that reason. I try to focus on outside things, like outside activities, purposefully, just because of that.
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
I think it's because, like, fun people are usually the ones who are, like, a little bit maybe emotionally unstable or just emotional people in general because they have more ups and downs.
Yeah.
Whereas medicine students are going to be more of these other personality types that are pretty stable, not so emotional, and that's why they're kind of boring, I think.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get so much of a reaction out of them no matter what you do.
Yeah, I can see that.
Obviously, I'm generalizing here, but that's everything in life.
Yeah, there's an element of that, Yeah, and I do agree with that, just the boring aspect of it.
So it must be refreshing, is my point, with these other people that are actually have something erratic.
They're actually erratic. They're actually kind of interesting,
Yeah.
And it is kind of one of those things. And I think based on even like my own thing where, I am a little bit blackballed. It's kind of depressing because I'm getting older. I don't even know what I want to do. And there's a depressing aspect to it,
But you're doing good, though.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens. I don't know. But
you're smart and you're like 90% or 80% done with a great education. Like,
you're
further along than most people, man.
Maybe so, but I don't know. It's kind of like losing kind of hope and losing interest, like not able to really study anymore, type of thing. It's also like
maybe one of the medicine is wide. You can find different
different fields.
Maybe psychiatry, maybe something more theoretical.
Yeah,
I feel like you're more of a theoretical guy rather than a practical.
Possibly. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of it's a hard thing, but it's kind of like a big question mark, and I'll kind of see what happens. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the negative things about being in my VCs is that there's like there's like you kind of associate yourself with depressed people too much, and it kind of makes you depressed. So
the voice chats, you mean?
Yeah, the voice chats. Yeah. So you can kind of get too like, because for most people, if you talk about roping, most people would be like, oh, don't do that. In my VCs, they're super like, yeah, but when are you gonna do it? Like that sort of thing. Yeah.
Whoa.
They're super dark. Yeah, they're pretty dark. Like my friend Face is like, damn man, like how you gonna do it? You know what I mean? Like they're like interested in it. It's really dark. It's like a dark subculture. It's like the dark web. It's like the dark subculture.
Do you think they could be lifted out of there if they had the right influence on them?
I don't think so, because a lot of them have been beaten down by just life experience. I mean, a lot of them are kind of pretty steadfast and.
Well, why would they like? Maybe they don't have anybody to ask for help. Because. I do feel with them that sometimes you can get stuck in life, at a specific problem, and you don't make any progress maybe for years. Actually, that's kind of a personal thing, like personal experience that I just felt stuck on this one thing for many years, and then I actually had to ask, like, kind of embarrass myself and admit that. Guys, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, do you know what should you do? What did you do in this situation? And I think that can kind of get you out of there. But you gotta sometimes you gotta be able to force yourself to embarrass yourself and ask for help. And now I actually progress, out of that. So
yeah, possibly.
That makes me hopeful.
But it's funny because my friend would talk about how he would go to a therapist, but he would talk to the therapist not as like this person's going to help me, but it's almost like a joke. Like a lot of therapists don't really understand like a lot of struggles. I mean, there is almost an ideology to therapy. There's like a therapy school, and there's almost like a lean that they go through.
I don't know. I don't like therapy, but I do believe in asking for help.
Yeah.
Like I tried therapy, but it didn't help me at all, actually.
Right.
Yeah. Have you tried therapy?
Yeah. I mean, I tried therapy, but it was useless for me. I mean, it didn't do anything.
Same. I think therapy is a little bit like adapted to the female mindset and to the life of women more than men.
Yeah.
In some ways, because I believe there are some evidence that women get more of a benefit by talking about their problems and having someone listen to them, whereas men sometimes need like a practical solution to things.
Yeah, there is something to that, a practical aspect to it.
Yeah,
just based on like how like men and women's brains differ.
Yeah,
I think there's an element to therapy that is very female oriented, and a lot you
like
see
with
that,
compassion and stuff.
Yeah, with compassion and things, and I think with a lot of male expectations as well. Like to be a man, you need to be like the breadwinner or something. I mean, there's just societal expectations for men, which isn't just cultural. It's also just inherent. Like if you are not successful as a man, you do feel kind of ashamed.
Sure.
Which is like an inherent thing.
Yeah.
You do feel kind of bad and ashamed about it. I think that's kind of a hard thing.
Especially as a young man,
Yeah.
Like if you haven't accomplished anything, like you would actually feel. Sometimes you can feel like invisible to women if you haven't accomplished anything and you don't have anything to bring to the table. It can, and you have these older men that maybe they have a good job and they have an apartment or something, and you haven't accomplished anything yet.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe for women they would feel invisible later in life. So it's an inverted relationship.
Yeah, it's somewhat inverted, I think.
Yeah.
And because of the inverted aspect to it, I think it is funny because a lot of female suicide maybe happens younger, but male suicide is very high as they get older. I don't know if that's true or not. I just heard like...
I think it's the opposite, man.
Oh, is it the opposite? Yeah, maybe.
I mean, according to this study that I saw, like 80% of suicides for people aged 18 to 24 are men.
Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of like the age range, is it like mostly younger men or?
Yeah, 18 to 24 years old.
Oh, so 18 to 24. Okay.
Yeah.
So most of them are younger men. Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
But I don't know if it's that the men are more successful in their suicide attempts.
Yeah.
Perhaps females are trying to, but maybe like the pills or something aren't enough.
Yeah, that is an element of it, like the success rate of suicide. So there's a difference between like suicide attempt and then actual suicides.
Yeah.
Also, I was thinking like would like euthanasia be considered suicide? I mean, there's all sorts of like things like euthanasia, doctor-assisted suicide.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're like included in those statistics.
Didn't Canada encourage euthanasia?
Yeah, there was something about that.
Did you miss that?
Yeah, no, I read a bit about it, not too much.
I'm pretty shocked as to how Canadians are like blind to what's happening in their country.
Yeah,
I've talked to many Canadians and they have no clue what's going on.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Canadians are very clueless. There is an element of just ignorance is bliss in Canada. Like they're not really aware of what's happening.
They just live their lives.
Yeah, they just live their lives. There's a sense of like Canada is like a safe and nice country to live in, and there's just an ignorance is bliss.
What about the banning of the automatic or like the carbines?
Oh yeah. No, Canada's like pretty strict gun control, but it's not as strict as it's probably in Europe. I think Europe is probably more strict.
But there was something that happened recently, like where you're not allowed to have, like you can only have a pistol or something. No, was it the opposite?
I think it's the opposite.
Yeah, you can only have a rifle, not a pistol.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then, but if you have a pistol right now, then you can keep it, but you'll die with it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
but nobody really said anything about that. Like they're just accepting these infringement on their freedom step by step.
Yeah, no, Canada's like that, like crazy. Like the amount of gun control and gun bans, like it's pretty crazy, and it's also really hard to defend yourself again Because the thing about handguns, there's a thing called a drop-to-shot ratio, where handguns are actually the best firearm for self-defense because it's hard to grab onto it, and it's easy to kind of like...
Yeah, rifle is very long.
Yeah, rifles are very long, and they're very like cumbersome rifles. And it's very not recommended. There's actually a guy called Law of Self-Defense on YouTube who I've actually talked to like on just emails. But yeah, like handguns are the best tool for self-defense because they're small and they're easy to just like take out. And
there's even a gun called the credit card gun. It's like literally this big, and you just fold it out like this.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it just has one bullet.
Interesting. Yeah.
The size of a credit card.
Wow, credit card. Yeah, that's interesting.
So you always have it with you for protection.
Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, I mean, I know like in Canada it's very hard to use a gun because they're going to ban handguns. I mean, self-defense is very hard in Canada. I mean, the general view is that criminals can kind of do what they want, and you have to just kowtow to criminals.
Just be a victim to it.
Yeah, just be a victim.
Just bend over.
Just be a good victim. Yeah. I mean, what's it like in Sweden? Like what are the gun laws in Sweden? I mean,
it's pretty strict. Like you are allowed to have hunting weapons, or if you're in like a gun club, like a sports gun club, then you are allowed.
Then you're allowed to.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's strictly prohibited.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because there is going to be this culture of hunting because of the nature.
Yeah.
In the north and the elk and. Yeah.
So yeah, you can only use guns for hunting. Hunting is always like the go-to. It's never like self-defense or tyrannical governments or anything. It's always like hunting is like the go-to. They're probably going to ban that eventually when they're going to say you can't eat meat anymore, animal rights and stuff. So they're going to ban that eventually probably.
Depends what we allow them to.
Yeah. I mean, we're kind of going in that direction. It's kind of depressing, but you kind of have to just like sit back and just like be like, okay, that's where society's going, I guess.
I don't know, man. I'm not so black pill. Like,
you're not,
I'm more like, I'm gonna take charge of this bitch.
Yeah, maybe so.
Grab the bull by its horns.
Yeah, there's just sort of like youthful optimism. I feel like black pill tends to get bigger as you get older. So it's like 40s, 50s, like people get super black pill.
I was there, but I got out.
You got out of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You might go back. You might go back into it, man.
I mean, probably, but for me, I'm more happy now that I've been in a long time, and my reason for that is just that I do things that I enjoy, and that makes me happy. And I'm not saying that medicine makes me happy. I'm saying doing side projects that I like, and like I found kind of a meaning and a purpose, so that helps me.
Yeah, I guess so. So you have like hobbies and stuff like you do on the side?
Yeah, and I feel like I'm making progress, like a game. You're getting better and you're leveling up your character.
Gotcha.
You keep trying and stuff, and it's, I used to feel hopeless, and I don't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you play League of Legends or anything? Or
I don't.
You don't? I'm not a gamer.
I used to be a gamer. I spent maybe years of my life on games, so that's why I strictly cut them out now.
Okay.
That I can't allow myself to have an Xbox in my house. Then I get consumed.
I know what you mean.
Literally from morning until night, I would play maybe without eating.
Oh wow.
Very bad.
Yeah, not so good. Yeah, I know gamming is kind of one of those things where it's like a massive waste of time.
Yeah.
But then it's one of those things where I guess when you're young, you're kind of you don't think rationally about how much time you're wasting. And then people kind of tend to give up games, and then maybe if they become kind of doom or black pill, they might get back into it. Like, oh, whatever, life is hopeless anyway, so I'm just gonna waste my life playing video games. Kind of.
I mean, if everything is hopeless, then it doesn't matter. But that's the thing, I do have something inside myself that I feel bad if I'm just wasting the time, because I do think there's something better. So that's a different mindset. Yeah,
it's kind of like a reason for continuing. And
because wouldn't you agree? Don't you think even the most black-pilled person ever out there would agree that there are better and worse ways to spend your time?
Oh, possibly. It depends on how deep you've taken the black pill, but I think an extreme black pillar would just say everything is just completely meaningless. There's actually a guy named Hamoudi on YouTube. He's this I think he's a Syrian guy. He lived in Germany. He was a black pill YouTuber, and he kind of he works at a kebab shop, and just like just really like kind of like overweight, like short, unattractive guy, can't get dates, works at a kebab shop, doesn't make much money. He would just drive around Germany and just like start screaming like he literally became the Joker, quite like Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, or even actually probably Heath Ledger's Joker, where he could put his like head outside the window and start screaming, where he had no inhibitions because he was so blackballed that he thought everything was meaningless and there was like no purpose to anything, so he would just do everything.
I can almost understand that.
Yeah, and he would just like he would just be like screaming and riding around, because I'm very inhibited. I'm a shy person. I'm very like, but he had like no inhibition. Yeah, shout out to Hamoudi from YouTube. But yeah, he was, and there's also another guy in my VC who's a medical student from Amsterdam who was also very black-pilled, and he actually died recently. He was in the news. He used to be on the VCs that I was on, and he did a very horrible thing, which I don't condone, which is like a mass shooting, which I do not condone that. I'm against all that. But yeah, he did a horrible thing at his med school where he like murdered people in Amsterdam, and he was very black-pilled. He was like in medical school for like a long time because he would keep like failing and just like repeating colloquiums. And then he got kicked out like on his final year of med school.
Why?
Because he had like mental health issues.
Oh.
And he did this thing where he tortured a cat like in his backyard. He saw a stray cat, and then he kind of did something weird to the cat, and his neighbor took a picture of him doing that to the cat, sent it to the police, and the police contacted his medical school and said that, this guy's like has mental health problems and stuff. And then he went to like the dean of his school, and then he was pretty much kicked out of medical school. He was and he was like on his final year and stuff, and then he kind of broke, and then he kind of like took a gun to his medical school and just like shot like his teacher and some people. And
where was it?
It was in Amsterdam. I think it was in Amsterdam.
Oh wow!
It's in the news, but it kind of got like suppressed, and then I don't know. It didn't get that much attention. He kind of was on he was on my VC, and he was also on some 4chan. He talked about his neighbor who ratted him out. He called his neighbor a roastie, a coal burner roastie, which is when you're in the far right like webs of the internet, it's a very dark place. But pretty much a coal burner is like a white woman who kind of is very progressive and has like a boyfriend who's like from Africa, and they call them coal burners. And she had like a mixed race daughter, like a half white, half black daughter. And even though he was Arab, like he was pretty racist. So
he was.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he would call her like a coal burner, like a roastie, and stuff like that. And he actually killed his neighbor. He actually, on that day where he killed himself, he went to his neighbor's house, like shot his neighbor and my daughter, and then went to his medical school and shot his professor. And then I was talking about it on VC, and I know people who like knew him. Like, what was he like, dude? Because I forgot what he was, and he actually had like a name. His name was, I'm not gonna say what his name was, but he was on the VCs, and he had like a weird ideology. Like he was he was in medical school, and he was very like, he didn't like women. He was pretty like, and he had this beliefs. He wanted to go to medical school because he wanted to create artificial wombs, because he wanted to make women like useless. Because he believed women were only useful for procreating. If he can figure out a way to create artificial wombs, it would make women useless for society. So he went to medical school to create these things. That's so sick. Yeah, it's crazy.
Although it reminds me of the like how some women of the like opposite side, perhaps they say that men are useless. Yeah,
men are useless. Exactly. You know what's funny?
Yeah.
There was actually like these guys on YouTube would just go to.
So sad.
Yeah, they would go to women and they would say like, do women need men? And all the women would say, no, we don't. And then would men need women? All the men would say yes. So like in normie society, women are more anti-men than men are anti-women. Just like if you just talk to them, like most women would say, we don't need men, you know?
Well, that's because of like maybe feminism.
Yeah, that's a feminist stuff.
It's so sad. I think it's a scheme. Like it's actually by design it has become this way, because people are easier to control if you break up their groups. So if you have the family unit, right, you have a strong union between men and women, you know, that they stick together. If you manage to break them up into smaller pieces, they're gonna be easier to control individually.
Yeah.
And I do believe that people want to control the world. There are people that want to do that. For money, power, and influence, and
kind of like the sort of like Karl forgot that guy's name, but Schwab, yeah.
Klaus Schwab. Klaus Schwab,
Klaus,
for example, and other rich individuals like George Soros, who has a very particular vision for the world that he wants to do in a certain way that might not always go together with the opinions of a democratic country. So he will find other ways to do it, whether it's through money, lobbying, buying politicians, or non-profit organizations that promote certain causes like multiculturalism or things like that, so that he gets his vision through against the will of the people.
Yeah,
but
I know like James Lindsay talks about it. I know there's they kind of support open borders and kind of like woke progressive movements, but like it's not right to call them like communist per se, because they're not really into that. It's almost like a progressive capitalism or like a woke capitalism. That's a part of it as well. Like it's almost like a maybe anti-nationalism, woke capitalism type of thing.
But let's stay on the topic of men and women for now, because it can get too much and too complicated. Because I just wanted to say that, you know, like men and women are different, yes, and that's like a beautiful thing, you know, that we complement each other. And like I believe feminism is just a lie, because it forces women to compete on areas which aren't their strengths, right? It forces women to compete on the strong areas of men, which is in itself anti-women. Like the genders are different and the sexes are different, and they complement each other to create something beautiful as a whole. You know, that's what I believe.
Yeah, it's sort of like they're complementary to each other.
Yeah, so we should be a team.
And,
you know?
And I think, you know, a lot of the ideologies are kind of like separating that, because it is kind of hard, you know, if you're a woman and you have that sort of like pro-woman, because the problem is that like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to identify based on gender. Because even for me, I don't want to be like I'm pro-man, because I don't look at a guy and think I have anything in common with them. You know what I mean? Like it's a weird thing to do.
I mean, you do. You are in the same group.
Yeah, I am.
Just because you're pro-men or pro-women doesn't mean you have to be against the other gender.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know?
Yeah, I think that.
Like, I'm sure you can appreciate a guy's night, you know?
Yeah. It's true, yeah.
A night with the guys, you know?
Yeah, I can appreciate like maybe like a healthy version of kind of, you know, like you can be proud of being a man, but also be proud of being a woman, and you can kind of and kind of embrace the maleness or the womanness and those like aspects of,
I mean, I just think it's like we talked about earlier, like it's just two groups, right? Just as you have religious groups, you have your family, you have your community. Like it's nothing wrong with feeling like things in common with your group. So like you can have a boys' night out, then you can come home to your wife and like give her a big kiss and feel great with her again, and she can have a ladies' night. There's nothing wrong with that, and you don't have to, just because you're different doesn't mean you have to hate each other.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And I think most marriages are like that. There are. It's really, a lot of feminists are unmarried women. There's a big difference between married and unmarried women. A lot of unmarried women tend to be more like into the feminist, that aspect of feminism, like third wave feminism. Yeah. That's more like anti-male and stuff.
Maybe the same for men though. A lot of the anti-women men are maybe the incels.
They're definitely unmarried, yeah.
Yeah, because they're resentful because they weren't
pretty much
enough.
Yeah, they're kind of resentful, and it is unmarried. It is unmarried, men. And
although it's for different reasons, right? Because in society, women are going to be the choosers. So if the men don't get selected, then they're going to become resentful. Whereas I wouldn't understand why a woman wouldn't choose to, like, why would a woman dislike men so much that she doesn't want to be with one?
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because
she has the option.
Yeah, she has options because they've done a bunch of studies on this on like Tinder matches. Like women, like they're way more likely to swipe left than right because they're more choosy on Tinder. They were more likely to get dates from men. It's much harder. So
how women date, across and above.
Across and above, yeah.
While men date across and below.
Yeah.
In what is it, dominance hierarchies? I don't know.
Yeah, dominance hierarchy and stuff. So.
Or status hierarchies, I don't know.
Yeah. So a lot of the thing is that a lot of women, like if they don't want to have a husband, a lot of that is like a choice. Like maybe like they're lesbians or they just like choose not to. but a lot of men are more involuntarily celibate. That's why the end is involuntarily. That's why you have the more frustration.
Right.
With the incel, there's actually
because it's not up to them. Really.
Yeah, it's not up to them.
I mean, ish.
Yeah, ish.
That's what they believe.
There's actually a guy named Elliot Rogers. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No.
He's a guy in California who he grew up in California, and he was like this short, like he called him like a Hapa, which is like half Chinese, half white. And his mom did George Lucas, who was in Star Wars. Big story. Anyways, Elliot Rogers, he actually did this very controversial, like he did like a mass shooting in California, and he wrote like a manuscript called Manifesto, essentially. Yeah. It's called like my tragic life or something. I forgot the exact wording of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he had very like crazy views about being like a millennial in California, and his whole ideology was very focused on rejection. Society rejects me, women reject me, I can't, I can't study, types of thing. And a lot of it was just kind of like, maybe like complaining about society. Same with a guy named Alec Benassian, who's like a Toronto guy who did a similar thing.
Mm-hmm.
He was like these men that are just struggling with life and society. And it is one of those things where I think it's getting worse and worse. And a lot of these people reject religion, and they're very black pill and stuff. And I would recommend reading his book because it's so crazy. It's like a diary of his life. And it would say 0 to 5 years old, 5 to 10. Like he would go through his entire life, and he would also do these vlogs
and just highlight all the rejections he got. All
the rejections and his issues with his family, his mom, his dad. He had a brother who like so-called mogged him, which means like his brother was like super tall and attractive, but he was like kind of unattractive and short. And his brother would get like dates and bring girls over, and he would like not and stuff. And he would.
That's always sad when you compare yourself.
When you compare yourself, he also talks about his mom, how like he had a bad relationship. Comparison is a big issue, and he talks about how his mom like he had a bad experiences with his mom, and also his dad was also like he would get mugged by his dad as well. His dad would mog him, his brother would mog him. Mog? M-O-G-G.
Oh.
Mog just means that you kind of outshine somebody that's in your vicinity.
So not mug with a knife.
No, not mugged, mogged. So pretty much
outshine.
Like mog, yeah. Mm-hmm. So pretty much height mogging or jaw mogging or looks mogging. It's all just like outshining somebody that's sort of near you.
Sure.
And and there's a bunch of memes on like Reddit and 4chan about like hype mogs. It's funny, like you see like this little guy and there's a big guy right next to him, and it's so funny seeing these memes, man. Like it's just so goofy. But it is like one of those things, man. It's like a lot of guys are kind of like struggling with that, and it is I don't know. I feel like it's like a silent epidemic where nobody talks about like just like how many people are like that. But I honestly think it's like a ton of people that are like that. Even like going around in Latvia, man, you meet like a lot of hopeless guys like walking around.
What do you think the solution is? Like clearly we didn't have as much of this before, so we must have done something wrong lately, like in the 90s, 2000s, 2010s with the smartphone. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
What do you think the solution is?
It's pretty much like, it's very multifactorial.
Yeah.
And it's very there's so many things, man. Yeah,
so many things.
I mean, there's a smartphone. Immigration's a big issue, man. Like I would talk to like Indians in Canada talking about how, they grew up, because in India, all these Indian guys, they just did arranged marriage.
Yeah.
They can find a girl easily with arranged marriage. Arranged marriage isn't a thing in the West.
Right.
So they don't really have arranged marriage. So it's very like, you gotta like do your own thing and just try to like, but a lot of guys struggle with that.
Is there arranged marriage in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, it's same in Sri Lanka.
Did your parents?
No, my parents didn't, but a lot of them do. A lot of parents get arranged marriage.
Would you like that for yourself?
I don't know. The problem is that I'm not very... One of the struggles with me is that I'm not like super close to my parents, because, like the way I'm talking in my... You know what I mean? Like it would be weird. I'm not like a traditional person. The stuff that I'm saying, I don't think I sound like a traditional Sri Lankan person, I sound very kind of like
raised by the internet.
Yeah, raised by the internet, man. I'm talking about VCs, and I'm talking about really weird subculture-y stuff. So I'm clearly like I'm not like a family oriented like, person. So I'm not super close. But one of the dangers is that arranged marriage is one of those things where it's like there's pros and cons to it. But one of the pros is that it kind of helps people like find a good partner that they can be with and stuff. But
and if they're really against it, they can their parents will oftentimes listen to them the way I understood it.
Yeah, they'll listen to them. But it's one of those things where there's an element of you like, you gotta like allow your parents to choose your wife for you, and a lot of guys can't like get in line with that.
But if you tell your parents like, no, this is not the right person at all, sometimes they will help you, like they will choose another one. Yeah. Maybe not all of them, but
yeah, they'll choose another one. Yeah. So there's I mean, the extreme version of that is probably like you go to like some tribal community in like Somalia and it's like forced marriages, like you force your daughter to marry this person, That's like a very extreme version of it.
And often underage daughters,
Yeah, underage and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's like a very extreme version of it. But yeah, it is a very kind of struggle and kind of.
I think it's all about people. Like I think the solution is all about people. Going back to our social nature, because we're not starving. Yeah. We have food. We have a roof to sleep under. We have clean water. So I think it's our Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Yeah. I think it's the other need, which is the social things. And if you look at it today in the developed parts of the world, which are going to be the more suicidal places, you're seeing a lot of isolation. For example, Sweden is one of the has the most single person households in the world, I believe. Okay. Around like 50%, something like that. Oh, okay. And it's also a lot of depressed people. And I think we need to go back, revert to maybe like 70s, 80s, where we actually went out and met people. We didn't have phones. We had maybe a house phone. Yeah. Like imagine having a house phone, and if you miss a call, you miss a call, and like there's not these expectations, and you go to your sports, you go to maybe a party, and I don't know. I think that's the community is what's lacking today.
Yeah, the thing is that like we're never really gonna go back to that unless I know there's like Amish communities, which are like subcultures in America where you have like people that are very like insular, and they don't like accept like technology. They kind of reject smartphones. They reject all that stuff. Yeah. But that's like a very insular kind of community. But it's very hard to, unless you like are in that community, it's very hard to prevent your kid from accessing smartphones and Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff, Reddit.
Although the next best things, the Jews have the Sabbath, and they on the Sundays they don't use any technologies.
Yeah, that is an option. I know Mormons and similar thing, and Jews. You kind of have to raise your kid in a very structured kind of environment and stuff. Yeah. But it's also really hard to control your kids. I can't imagine having a kid, and because a lot of kids reject religion. A lot of kids just go their own way and do their own thing, and especially when they become adults, they kind of do their own thing. And there's sort of like an inevitability to like destruction almost. It's like you can't even do anything about it. You have to just watch it happen. But I think there are instances where like, okay, well maybe I can just like join an Amish community, and then I can like prevent like
a co-living.
Yeah,
there are some spaces like that. I've actually done some research into it.
Yeah, there is.
They like cooperate and live together and cook meals.
Yeah. I mean, it is possible, and it has happened.
There's a book about it also, like from behaviorist like B.F. Skinner. He actually had a book. It's called Walden 2. And Walden was there was first a book called just Walden, and that was about I think a guy who moved into nature, maybe alone, and he did all of these things like naturally. And Walden 2 is by these psychologist B.F. Skinner, and that's about like this his best possible society where people are like cooperating and they're living together, and everything is done like so efficiently as possible, and everybody's happy. But it's fiction, but there are like communities that have tried to emulate that and like incorporate his ways. It's kind of interesting if someone's interesting. It's
I think I might have vaguely heard of that. I'll check that book out. Yeah, it sounds kind of interesting.
It's kind of a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, there's a lot of like books and movies about like the Truman Show, or there's a movie by Olivia Wilde. There's a bunch of stuff about just like. Yeah. Like future stuff, but it's always like dystopian future. It's always like, these planned societies tend to just like be actually like dystopian.
Yeah. What would you say? Like, what's that word for the dream society?
Like the dream society.
Yeah, like if someone has a not eudaimonia, but it's like.
Is it like there's like utopia? Or
utopia, exactly.
Utopia.
Okay. Well, like in like kind of short. What's your? Because we've been talking for 3 hours. What's your utopia in a few sentences?
My view for utopia is that I don't believe it's real. That's my view. I don't believe utopia is possible. I think utopia is inherently impossible. I think that's what religion believes in, like afterlife. I think utopia. I think a lot of the communists believe in utopia. I think a lot of people believe in that we can create a perfect thing. I do believe in betterment, like you can improve things.
Sure. But
improvement has to do with structure and community and finding purpose and sort of finding sort of like purpose and reason essentially, and like pretty much like copiums. You just have to like create copiums for continuing to live. So
what's the least bad then? I know nothing is perfect, but what's the...
Well, I would say bad is probably...
Least bad.
I mean, least bad is... It's pretty much trying to essentially manufacture a reason for living. So finding groups, trying to find relationships and communities, but always, it's kind of hard.
Is it a democracy?
I'm not really sure. I'm not even really sure about that.
Okay, well, it's something to think about for next time.
Yeah, it is something to definitely think about for sure.
For the next time you're on.
Definitely.
All right, I really appreciate you, brother.
Yeah,
thanks
appreciate you as well, man. Thanks.